So I think to just share my horror story, right? There was once
Yeah.
I was interviewing with this company, Zillow, and I was interviewing the one of the principal engineers, like
Mhm.
distinguished, it's like distinguished engineer. And then his question was simple. It's a 4x4 grid of alphabets. It's essentially scramble with friends, right? Find all the
Mhm.
words in this 4x4 grid. I was like, okay, I'm gonna iterate through. And I said, no, 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 no. And then eventually I discussed with him like within 10 minutes. It turns out that the answer he wants is a tree or a try. The answer he wants is a
Yes.
try. It's like, uh, are you looking for a try? It's like, yes, can you implement it? No, I can't implement a try. I don't want to waste your time. So at the point, I wasn't ready for tries. So I was like, okay, I don't want to waste your time. So I completely bombarded that interview. But you know what happened? The hiring manager came back. He said, hey, you aced everything, but this thing was so bad from this distinguished engineer. I want to figure out what's going on. So it turns out that this distinguished engineer has been giving um, very negatively correlated interview feedback with all the other interviewers, and that's an interview process issue,
Oh my
right?
god.
You want to find. So eventually I didn't take the job with them anyway. It was a iBuying division which got closed down after the COVID issue.
Lol.
Yeah, so that was good. But I think, and to answer your question on how to interview people well, right, I can share
Yes.
with you how I think about it. I always I think it's an open secret. Amazon focuses a lot on behavioral interviews. It's like
Mhm.
almost like half of it. I can sort of share the high level formula. It's like half of it is technical, half of it is behavioral. It's like half of it is technical, it's like science breath, science application, etc. And then the other half is like what we call leadership principles. And the leadership principles are behavioral. So behavioral, you focus on whatever you think is everyone is assigned some leadership principle, and we focus on it. Customer obsession, frugality, bias for action, and it's always back. Tell me about a time where you did this, and then they have to give you the examples. No, sometimes people may make up examples, but you just keep probing deeper and deeper and deeper. You
Mhm.
figure out if they actually did it or not. So past behavior is often the best predictor of future behavior.
Mhm.
And based on that, we've been able to, and of course we have multiple interviewers, right? Sometimes they reuse the same story across multiple interviews. Sometimes there's conflicting. That's where we have a debrief, right? Every time we have a debrief, and when
Mhm.
there's conflicting sharing, it's always a red flag, and we probe deeper. So
Mhm.
I guess long story short, it's always behavioral based, using the star based method. What did you do? And then there are certain things we look out for, especially like you said, you're hiring an L5, L6. Um, it's like scope. It's a scope.
Mhm.
Were they able to handle the previous scope? Is it a single team scope, multiple team scope, cross org scope? Complexity. How much complexity is it? Is it a single person job? Uh, how much complexity is it? Execution. Was the execution good? So things like that, we find that it's a good way for us to how we think about candidates and how they can perform in the environment that they will eventually be in. So, and of course, none of that. I do coding interviews as well. My coding interview is extremely simple. Like nothing like what
Mhm.
Hamel shared. So I don't find that to be um have strong validity with assessing for what actually gets used on the job.
Yeah, like I think my old coding interview was just like, you get rand, like like you rand, can you implement like a 6-sided dice? And then can you
Yes.
like and then can you like simulate for me the probability, like just like Monte Carlo, the probability of like it adding up to any number between 1 and 12, right? Like can you just like can you write a for loop? Do you understand like what a if statement is?
Yes.
It's like my version of FizzBuzz. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been having such a hard time interviewing MLEs.
What are you
Let
looking
alone
for,
like
Jason?
not, hmm?
What are you looking for when interviewing MLEs? Is it like
I just want like so
design systems or like
I
evals, coding?
I'm looking for trade-offs.
Mm,
Like I specifically like for me personally, like I always was like you need to have pushed your system to a point where you need to make trade-offs and you need to explain to me clearly what trade-offs you made and why you made them. Because if you didn't make any trade-offs, you didn't hit any limits.
design then.
Right? You
Understand.
were like in front of this like efficiency frontier. Like, whoa, I didn't have to make any trade-offs. Like this is not a real project.
So you sort of actually need people who have had that experience, who've had to make that tough trade-off,
Yeah,
or
and if
maybe
you
observe.
haven't, you're like if you just say like I don't like trade-offs, it's like well you probably have not done anything hard. in your life.
I have a
I
question.
make trade-offs in like when I brush my teeth in the morning. Like, wait. Also, can I just say, the head of AI?
Brian.
Oh yeah, Brian.
Hey, we need to hit him up here.
Yeah, Brian. Do you want me to send you an
Wait.
invite?
Okay, I know. Hey, Brian, I'm gonna ping you on Twitter.
Yeah,
I'm gonna DM you.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Luca, who's working with me on a new computer. That's what I usually look for, is like these trade-offs. Well, I'll just go like, hey, like I'd love to talk about a specific project that you really love working on. Great. Like, why did you make this decision? Why did you make that decision? Did you make any interesting trade-offs? And usually, like a great person's like, oh, dude, this drove me crazy for like 3 months, but let me tell you what happened. And then the story begins of like, like our engineering team was like, our ML team was building out these new tools. Latency was going down. I had to make these like trade-offs around the team. Then like half of these things I realized were not engineering problems, but like people problems, and I had to like go sort this all out. Those are the things that I think are pretty exciting. I think I'm going down the wrong path. That's my biggest worry. I feel like I've
one
always
question
been
I
in a
have is
position
like,
where I hire technical folks. It's like conditioned on technical.
what about the other side of the equation? Like, do you try to understand like why that person wants this job?
I leave that to somebody else usually.
Oh my God, we have a special guest.
Okay.
Because usually I'm just the MLE guy. Like usually what these companies I'm working with are, everyone's an engineer, no one's an MLE. My job is to just figure out if they know anything at all.
I see.
Don't you? Isn't it? It sounds like from what you described about maybe people being hired and then leaving, like that's the failure point, not the MLE part that you are doing.
Yeah. I think a lot of it here, it's just like, I was at a big company, I want to try startup. Oh, startup. Startup.
Hey, Brian.
You want to introduce yourself? Not that we've ever introduced ourselves, but
yeah, I'm Brian. I've worked with some of these characters before, but yeah, I'm at Hex currently, which is a notebook company, and yeah, building AI tools for data scientists. I've hired a large number of people at this point, so I have some opinions.
yeah.
Oh, do share and help Jason. Actually, why don't we just go like 20-second intro for everyone?
Sure.
I'm Jason. Top left, Jason.
Yeah, I'm Jason. I'm right now working as kind of like a applied AI consultant, just helping startups get their shit together. Before that, I was at a company called Stitch Fix, working with Brian for like 3 years, basically. It's been a while. Yeah. And I just really, these days, really think about like, how do you make engineering teams think more like machine learning folks? How do you like upscale them? And then the second part, just like something that Brian and I both really believe in, which is most of RAG is just Rexus, in which case there's like no new ideas and we just have to like build good systems.
Hamel, over to you.
Yeah, I'm Hamel. Hamel Hussein. I'm also independent consultant, AI consultant. I do a lot of work with large language models, especially around like fine tuning models for people, helping them where they get stuck in terms of like, hey, my model's not fast enough or it's not accurate enough, so on and so forth.
Hi, I'm Eugene. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Eugene. I sell books at a bookstore. I mostly build recommendation systems, a bit of search. More recently, I'm dabbling into using how we can use generative AI to help people understand books a little bit better and maybe read a bit more. That's me.
Yeah. The big topic I'm sort of on my knees begging for help on this week is how do you like attract AI engineer talent, and how can we interview and like screen for the right things? Let me just answer this question real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was the word related to RAG? Rexus? Rexus, like recommendation system. Anyways, Brian, go ahead.
So I've been interviewing AI engineers for like a year, and I think.
Can I add one more thing, by the way? I maintain that Brian came up with the term.
I think that.
Ooh.
Which term?
AI
engineer. I applied for the Hex AI engineering job in like February, or like in like January or February.
Yeah,
That was the
and
first time I ever saw the term.
I
Anyways.
think March like 6th or something, 2023, I posted a job posting with AI engineer. And a little bit before that, I had alluded to it on Twitter. But regardless of the name, I think what I am, there's a couple different profiles that I'm like excited about. And by the way, I do have open headcount right now.
Ooh.
I think the profiles that I get excited about are SWEs that are like full stack, and they are pretty, I would say, like product focused, but they're also very, I would say, like AI pilled. Like they've been reading all the stuff, they've been playing with it on the side, and hacking around, and they have an intuition for like things that work and things that don't. So strong full stack like engineers with those like predilections. Let's talk. On the other side of the spectrum, I think MLEs who are like sort of willing to get into like product engineering as well. Like they've previously been doing more like machine learning stuff, but they're willing to do product engineering. I'm also interested in talking to them. And then the third category, which I don't think gets talked about enough, are data scientists who like understand how to like look at user behavior and map that back to like what functionality is good and what functionality is bad, and are actually on the stronger side of coding. Because like what I'm seeing is more and more making good AI products is actually very similar to making products in general. And there's a lot of data science that needs to go into that. And so that's my little bit of like realization over the last year, is that like I'm doing a lot of data science work on the back end to try to figure out what is good and what is not good.
Yep.
And yeah, to Jason's clowning, like totally, like yeah, who should be surprised? But anyway, yeah, those are the profiles I'm looking for.
I wanted to follow a point you mentioned, Brian. You mentioned that Swiss AI pill. Like, what does it mean to be AI pill? Are they like reading the recent papers, or is it that they have a good sense of how to do evaluation, how to catch defects, how to look at data, statistics minded, or maybe that's not even necessary? What do you think?
I think a data intuition is really, really useful because this stuff has such high variance. It's super easy to like get distracted by a couple small signals and think like, oh, this is behaving a particular way, or it's like misbehaving a particular way. So I do think that some amount of robustness to variance is useful in your thinking pattern. But when I talk about being AI pilled, I think I'm a little bit less worried of like, have you read the papers of this week? I'm a little bit more interested in people that are like, I've been seeing all this stuff and I just wanted to give it a try. And so like you gave something a try. Did you build an application on top of an LLM to do something that you were interested in? Did you try fine tuning a model on your own? Did you try like, just like understanding what the limits were? Did you build an AI assistant and like GPD assistants? Frankly, I don't care. It's more that you were so like taken by what's possible that you wanted to test it. And you don't have to believe that it's like the be all end all. Skepticism is really important to me. But I want you to have like crossed that threshold of like getting your hands dirty.
May I try to extract that a bit and try to rephrase?
Sure.
So what you're saying is that the person needs to be proactive enough to have just taken the first step to try it themselves, and needs to have enough grit to have completed that project.
Or at least gotten to a place where they've convinced themselves that that's like where they should stop it. Because knowing when to quit is useful too.
That's essential. I love people. I actually, anytime someone's, and maybe this is a bias stereotype, let me know. Anytime someone shares that they have completed a project, I once interviewed this guy. He built an app to control his drone. Nothing to do with machine learning, but dang, that shows grit and persistence, right? And he was showing me, he was like so proud of it. I was like, wow, I want you to channel that energy into this role that I'm gonna hire you for. And also some people like athletes, team sports, have some sort of persistence to push through and collaboration.
I had a question.
I don't know if that's helpful for you, Jason. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on people with less background and a ton of enthusiasm? How do you test that?
Actually, that was what I wanted to mention. So I mentioned that we measure a lot of usually past behavior predicts future behavior, right? I feel that there's one part of the interview process that doesn't measure enough potential. But potential is very difficult to assess. I don't know how, but increasingly I've seen that when I've taken chances on people that I feel have potential, it's almost always turned out well. But I don't know how to assess it yet.
You know how to
And
assess
I'll-
it, Jason. Open source.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
I
open
think
source
here it's
actually,
like high
it always,
agency is potential,
yeah, it
right?
already demonstrates it, right? They already have an artifact to demonstrate it.
I think you've worked with some pretty high potential people that like contributed to instructor or something that may be off the beaten path.
Yeah, I think one of the guys, like I think his name was like Ethan. He was like contributing to like Instructor JS for like 3 days, and a week later, like the core developer of Instructor JS hired him like as part of his agency now. So like, there's at least one job secured.
Wow.
Right. Another guy, Shank. Like I wish I could hire him, but he's I think just left like JP Morgan to go to SF to go work. So yeah, in that sense, I do agree. At least with these like younger kids.
And
They're
there's
trying to,
that
like,
one
get
guy
the-
in Singapore. Forgot his
Yeah,
name.
Ivan. Like
Ivan, yeah.
Haven't, yeah.
like he's just been helping me with like a ton of different work now.
This is actually one of my I'd say sore spots, because I've met a couple people that are like, it seems like they have really high upside, like really, really like, I think they're going to be fantastic, but the roles that we're hiring for are like determined to be like more senior roles. And so we don't currently have like headcount for more junior folks. And I've actually spoken to 2 people that like, I just like found myself thinking at the end of the interview process, like I see so much like potential here,
Yeah.
and it's like it's so hard to like say kind of like no to these people, because even when I want to give them like reason, like I want to give them justification, it feels like such a bullshit excuse to say like, you don't have very much experience. I think you're gonna be fucking killer, but like I can't hire you at the moment.
The way that I've been capturing this has been just as like you have a ton of energy in terms of like potential energy. Like
I see.
I would prefer a duller light bulb if it was like in a laser.
Yep.
Where like the bright light is great, but then I have to like build all this like infrastructure around this energy to like focus it somewhere.
Focus. Yes.
And I think that's kind of like that's the thing you get with like seniority. It's like, okay, you don't need a lot of potential, but like you've done this 3 times, like you'll just get this done in 20 hours. Whereas like if you have a lot of potential, maybe this takes you 40 hours plus 15 hours of my time just to like focus you in the right direction. I think that's one of the painful things I've realized. Like, okay, like it's actually a lot of work to hire the person with a lot of potential, unless you know that you can just like let them free. Right. And they need to be like not only high potential but high discipline. And the discipline part is the part that's tricky. Because they are going to be building this like AI drone connected thing. I'm like, yeah, but like I'm paying you to do a job right now. And like I love that you did that. This is super cool. But like we work for a business, and this business is trying to make money.
So Jason spoke about potential in terms of energy. How do you see it, Hamel, Brian? Like Brian, you said that you were interviewing someone and you could see so much potential. How does that look like operationalized? Is that a carafe? Is it like 2:30 p.m. wine? I'm envious.
This is
Coffee. Oh dang. Okay.
Yeah. It kind of did look like that.
So
Yeah.
sick, by the way. Listen what I got.
I didn't even catch that. I was like,
I got plastic coffee and plastic congee.
Nick Cafe? What?
Yeah, it's that and like my antibiotics. Like what life? Listen, man, this is
Jason knows I'm a fancy boy. But yeah, I love fancy coffee. But
yeah.
This upside, it is hard. It's one of those like when you see it. But I think some of the things that stand out to me when I'm thinking like, my goodness, like this person, it's when they have like intuition without like the words to like necessarily express it. So like, let me give you an example of someone who
Taste.
So I hired someone at Weights and Biases who was like a master's student like new grad. He had done a couple like internships, but in my coding challenge, he basically like did some transformations on the data set, which were very good, and they were really important for like capturing the correct like signal. And when I asked him like, why'd you do these transformations? Because I asked a lot of questions during the coding challenge, and he was like, well, the distribution looked strange to me. It didn't feel realistic as a distribution. And so I applied a couple transformations to see if like then it looked more realistic. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, that is like the right data intuition. Like where you're like getting more detail. And that was like the very first thing that started making me think like this guy might have high upside.
He has intuition. You're right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like distribution of data, like just sensing that the problem is with the data, not whatever algorithm or whatever engineering is like, and the fundamental, the obsession. I mean, the focus on the data is amazing.
And that I've deprecated that coding challenge, and so like I don't mind saying like one of the big challenges is it's really easy to look at that data set, think like I'll just abuse it with like a normal clustering approach and kind of like move on with my life. But that is like the one worst thing you can possibly do because the clustering like is way too tied to features that don't actually matter for the problem. And so it gets swamped by these like unnecessary features. And so I think, yes, that was really relevant for that problem, but it's also just like showed me that intuition. And the more I talked to this guy, the more I found myself thinking like he's describing things that like he doesn't have experience with, but are right. Like these are all right intuitions.
Wow.
And the lack of experience combined with that intuition, he has a really high like ceiling. And so
how did he gain that?
What's that?
How did he gain that? Did he do a STEM degree or was?
He was part of a really interesting like college program, which I think helped a lot. But there's a university out of SF that's sort of like it's like distributed all around the world, and you travel around the world and do different semesters. Wow. And then he also did several internships, and I think, wow, yeah, he just had really good instruction and like worked really hard, and yeah. Anyway,
I just want to say one thing about this is a lot of people say like, oh yeah, I want to find high potential people and blah blah blah, and there's like definitely a lot of signals out there. Like one good signal is like the quality of someone's writing, for example, if they are writing. Not everyone's writing. But then, like for those people that are out there, like either their writing shows like really high clarity of thought and high potential, or maybe their code does, or both, or something like that. They still put that person through a cookie cutter interview process, and essentially, like you're not going to get the high potential. You're not going to get that. You're not going to do that. Be able to do that arbitrage like that. You're just going to get someone else. So like, I don't know, people don't do a good job of catering to high potential, these like high potential off the beaten path candidates, even though talk about it.
100% agree. And hey Chip,
Hey there.
I'm like strongly opposed to these cookie cutter interviews, and yeah, I definitely make my own for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? I work at a very big bookstore, and we do have cookie cutter interviews. But the cookie cutter interviews, I don't know if it's cookie cutter as per we give the same lead code questions and everything. But our interviews do get very solid data points. Yeah. So as I sometimes we follow that, but sometimes I also do chat with that, and we try to help candidates succeed. The interviewer works with them a lot. And okay, right now it looks like Jason's one-on-one with my one-on-one with Jason is now like one-on-one, and we have Chip. Chip, do you want to introduce yourself? Because I'm gonna definitely do a bad job of it.
Hey, I'm here. I was just like, I was just waiting for my model to run, and I saw that Eugene is doing something fun. And when I say hi, wait, did I just kick Brian out? Brian's like, Chip is here. I cannot be part of this anymore.
He just went off camera.
Hey.
And hello, Chip. I mean, this is the random thing I do with Jason. Like every other week, and then we just talk about whatever we're thinking about, usually around ML. But today, like Jason's thinking a lot about hiring. Do you have I wonder if you have any thoughts there?
Yeah. In particular, like how do you attract talent and how do you
Retain.
interview for talent?
I do believe it like pay go well. I felt like that is probably like I have seen people at like very like just one of those very famous startups that people like crazy, and I see them as like you just need to work really really fucking hard because they pay super well. But I mean like I know it's like this is like ethos of like the startup should attract people for the mission, so you want to attract people who would join us regardless of the pay, right? I think I see actually a lot of people like that, but I also see that like, wait, oh my god, is this live? Everything is recorded.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
Did you say like we want people that will join us regardless of the pay?
But a lot of like startups, people told me that. Like as I've seen like founders telling me that like, oh, you need to find people who like so into the mission, so they would fight to be.
Someone
like,
said that to me.
part
I
of
would
the
want to
company.
slap them like really hard. Someone told me that. Like,
No,
hey,
let me send you a list of names, like backstage, so you can go and hunt them down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, send us that exclusion list so we make sure we don't work with them.
No,
even,
I
like,
think
waste
there's
our
a lot
time,
of
yeah.
value in this though. But also like for me, like I really like hire open source contributors. Like so I guess like so I actually a lot of time I just spend on GitHub. So I felt like okay, what kind of looking at the repos and doing things that I find interesting, and just go through like very manual process of like going through the PRs, looking at the like the code, the review. I should just show a lot about a person through how they submit the PRs.
Fun fact, when I interview internal candidates, I actually do look at their PRs. Because I have it's essential. It's like okay, this guy talks a lot. Did they actually ship code? And then you look at their PRs and sometimes it's a lot, sometimes like no ship for a long time. And it for me it's a red flag.
Oh my god, can I just call out, like, this is mostly just like a self brag, but my ratio of tweets to commits is 3-1. So I'm actually doing great.
Okay,
so
commenting enough.
I talk on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm actually still writing code. I just checked that like a couple days ago.
I didn't know this was a metric I should be tracking, but challenge accepted.
how many tweets per year and how many contributions per year?
So Jason, do you squash merge or like?
Wow.
I wish he would squash merge on more of his tweets, but let's not.
Oh, dude, I can't. But yeah, I think for the most part, I squash merge everything. I usually try. I try to stack PRs. I feel like I have that habit from Facebook, but I don't use like Graphite or anything like that.
Work on CI, you can generate lots of commit. You're forced to generate tons of commits.
Yeah.
Because most of my code that I published is just is documentation. So it's just like, oh, I should add another sentence here, move the config there, do something else there.
That means you're doing it right.
I try not to write too much like large code blocks now. I'm just too old. My hands will hurt.
No, more documentation is really good signal.
But Brian, how would you describe the way that Hex attracts talent? Just be fucking cool, or like?
I think we do benefit from a brand. I do think, and like that's not my. I can't take responsibility for that one. I think. So I've been lucky in the last 2 jobs, which is at both places, they are dev tools used by the kind of people that I want to hire. When I was at Weights and Biases, the people that I wanted to hire probably knew about Weights and Biases for their work. At Hex, when I want to hire like an AI engineer, like they're probably in that orbit. They're probably aware of Hex. I think it would be a little bit more difficult if I worked at like Walmart, because it's like, yeah, like, okay, probably every AI engineer is like familiar with Walmart, but are they thinking of it in the same like cognitive space as their like job? Maybe not. And that's one like little advantage that I've found. But I do think that to some degree, like, yeah, like the brand helps a lot. I think to some degree, being part of the community is something that people like. Yeah, I think that's part of it too. I'm not like super into the community, but I definitely like try to participate. And so I think that has some effect. A long time ago, someone told me that like participating in seminars and like intellectual endeavors had like outsized effects on other things. And that person was Hummel. That was like 5 years ago. But yeah,
Wait,
I
you
do.
don't have for 5 years?
Yeah.
Do you remember
Old,
that?
man.
You don't?
Do you remember that, Hummel?
Do I remember that?
Yeah.
I remember you we talked, yeah, like on DMs
Yeah.
maybe like 5 years ago for sure.
See?
On that
But you
topic,
had like a non-profile, like Dr. Donut something, and I was like,
he
who
still
the hell
has
is
that.
Okay, you still have it. Okay, so because I was like, who is Dr. Donut? Like, and then he's like, oh, I'm like, oh, you're that same guy. Okay, like,
I was
okay.
struggling to find you just because. And then the thing is, we met at some conference, and he was like, "Hey, I'm Brian Bischoff." I'm like, who's Brian Bischoff? Then it took me a long time. Oh shit, this donut guy. And I was like, oh my god, because I riff with you on.
I didn't know
on
you were
Twitter sometimes.
famous, man. Like famous like that.
I think I had something about I tweeted something about rag is just Rexis, right? And then we had really deep conversations. It's like, oh wow, Brian, this guy is actually working on this stuff. If not, he wouldn't find these loopholes. But on that point, I actually wanted to ask you, and don't be overly humble here. I was wondering, like Jason or Brian or anyone, like when you hire people, do you find that your brand helps you become a talent magnet? Like when people come to say, oh, why did you try? Oh, I would just want to work with Brian, or I just want to work with Jason or Hammer or Chip. Does that help? Does it or no? It doesn't bother. Doesn't matter.
I don't know if my brand is a good brand.
I don't know either. I'm an independent consultant, so no one. I mean,
Yeah, like
I'm hoping people will hire me. like I don't know.
Yeah. I do a lot more interviewing. There's definitely been times where the interviewees like know me from Twitter, but like that's not a plus. So I tend to be pretty like wild on Twitter. So it's like it really is like a as much as I'm winning, I'm probably losing too in that sense. But I do think sometimes for these smaller companies where there is just like 3 engineers, having me as an interviewer can bring some more legitimacy to like the machine learning. I think I've definitely been asked questions like, hey, I'm just like, I know you were just an advisor. Like, is this legit?
Legit.
Am I gonna be like this MLE that's being invited here to like be asked to perform magic for them? Like, do they understand what is and is not possible in machine learning? Like, are they gonna hire me and ask me to build out like agents for Medicare? Like, is that? And it's like, no. Like, I've talked to them. Like, this is not what they believe is going to be next. Here's what I think they should be doing in the next like 3-4 months. So it's almost like calming the nerves when it comes to bringing in really legit MLEs, because they're just like, I don't want to come in and be told to do like LLM magic bullshit.
That's my job. I wouldn't have, if you had asked me this like a year ago, I would have said no, Eugene. I think now the answer I think is yes, because I've had a few people explicitly tell me, and I've had a few people like in the pipeline who have like told our recruiters like, oh, I'm aware of Brian from online, like he's awesome, blah blah blah. And I did end up making a hire at the beginning of last year, someone who like, I mean, I think of as someone who I really look up to online, and I hired him, and he applied because he saw that I was at Hex. And so like,
wow,
I do think that like, much to my surprise, yes, it turns out weirdly, yes. Yeah.
That's great. That you're now a talent magnet, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, like,
no need to be humble
more to my own surprise than anything, but yeah. I think the alumni community from Stitch Fix is like also an interesting like resource, and I'm sure this is true for Hummel as well, and like Chip as well from a different dimension. But like these alumni groups that you're a part of are probably like pretty valuable for like access to resources.
Yeah, I always ask Sven for free stats advice. It's worked out every time. But
You just do exactly what he says not to do. That's usually my policy.
Yeah, exactly. Chip, I got a question. Like, how are you hiring these days? Like, is it really just like wait for big startups to go bust and then you hire their team, or is there some other magic that you're using to attract these teams? Is it just or is it
first,
just like purely
where are
like
you working at right now, or what? Like, can you start there, Chip? Because I actually don't know.
Working on data. So we accelerate data processing on GPUs. So I think I basically believe that like GPUs are here to stay, and it's like I think that's a stack now. Mostly you have just CPUs, right? But now everyone has GPUs, so you have like cross poly silicon kind of infrastructure. And a lot of people are doing a lot of work optimization for training and inference, but I don't think we don't see a lot of people doing the work optimizing for data processing ETL stack. So that's what Data is. I was just like, okay, I just want to jump on the part about like whether you can help attract talent. I feel like any presence can help with like attracting talent. At the same time, it can have a lot of like it can attract a lot of people who are not really in the work. Like they're interested in like working with you, but they're not interested in the work. I'm not sure it makes sense.
Yes.
So I feel like we
It
have a
does.
lot of candidates, but I feel like personality can attract people, but like very short term, right? Like if you really want someone to like enjoy and do the work long term, it's not sustainable. So yeah, so I feel like now I don't really advertise when I'm hiring publicly anymore because I feel like we just get a lot of like not really relevant resumes.
I agree. I've been trying to do some like resume pulling on Twitter, and it's not good. Because it's like you gotta think about like the people who could get any job and like would be really high quality are not like checking my
Actively
Twitter
looking.
and me the resume. I'm like, God damn
Yeah.
it! Like, why did I think this could be in any way like a good way of sampling the ether?
On
But-
that note, can I just like vent about the
Yes.
hiring?
Yes.
It's just like I feel like the application process is so broken. I just feel like I don't know why companies still are supposed to submit applications with a cover letter. I feel like resume is not one size fit all at all. I feel like trying to like condense everyone into like one resume is just like so strange. It's just so hard. So in my ideal world, I feel like there should be a matching process. It's like dating, right? Like, OkCupid, right? They have like this matching process between like two people, right? And they have like a lot of questions to filter out people, and then have like the chance of this being matched. I feel like a lot of recruiters are like doing the job, and I feel like a lot of times the questions.
Oh, going just
Jason
recruiters.
has beef. Jason has beef with recruiters. I see. So questions like, so like, for example, like a startup, right? Usually you can pre-ask people, like people who have been. So one question that you should ask people when I still do sometimes is like asking like, okay, where else you're looking into? I feel like if people are actually looking at like Google, Amazon, so internally it was like, okay, they're probably not gonna join our startup, right?
Mhm.
Because the profile of people who are looking for like
Yeah.
big companies is very
Yeah.
small. Compared, like there's a small chance of them like joining a startup. Just internally, and I feel like if there's a way for us to look at like behaviors of like candidates and help some like companies, also like to help candidates choose the right company as well, because what we really don't want is like time is very important, right? Like it's a waste of time for both candidates and a waste of time for like companies who hire them. Like we try to increase the chance of like, okay, if 10 people go through our pipeline, what is the chance, how many of them actually like be a good fit? And we try to like get as stronger signals as possible. It's like we want to spend more time on people who would actually have a high chance of joining us. So I don't know. So I feel like if there's a way we can have this magical matching process instead of like blind submissions.
In that sense, what percentage of salary would you be willing to pay?
For what?
I feel like these recruiters are also asking for like so much these days.
They have. Yeah.
Right. It's like, would you be willing to do this for like like 15% of like the first year's salary. Like probably actually
1
like,
month, yeah, that's
to hire like
approximately it.
an L5, L6 that can really like mentor your whole team and you know save you like months, if not like you know multiple quarters of time. Like I don't know, but some of these numbers are pretty crazy. It's like harder than the New York housing market.
I guess one thing I want to follow up on what you mentioned, Chip, is that okay, you want to make sure that the person really likes the startup environment. So what you're saying is that okay, you interview the person, they did well, then they realized that they didn't like the startup environment, or they declined the offer, or they didn't fit well with the environment. Like what was the gap there?
So a lot of people spiritually, right? They like the idea of like being part of a small team working for something. But then when it push comes to shove, like now here's this offer stability, not stability AI sale. I mean like so like from a big company, right? And then like here's this offer, a lot of risk. And like usually it's a phase like people like get 2 offers on the table. Very high chance of like if especially if other things you consider. Usually like people apply, they think of themselves what they want to do, but when they consider I should take an offer, they have to think about like other people who depend on them as well.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always like, okay, if we gave them this offer and they were given Google, like what would happen? I'm like
OpenAI, like
yeah, right. Like you need like we like if I want to interview you, I gotta believe that like if I gave you an offer and like OpenAI gave you an offer, you're like, oh no, we gotta like really. It still needs to be difficult because if it's like for most people, it's not. Like I think for most of the companies that have ever even offered me a job, I'm like immediately no because I don't want to waste your time.
And this
question
goes
the
back to what
of the candidate that is interviewing at a startup like that and saying, "Oh, I'm also interviewing at Google." You should always pick like some kind of peer in the space, and just say you're like not make it up, don't lie or anything, but you should be interviewing it. Like back in the day, the best way to get Airbnb to get really nervous is saying, "I am also interviewing at Uber." Because they had just a lot of they had a lot of people like bouncing between those two companies at the heyday of Airbnb.
at that time?
So it's like, okay, yeah, like that's what if you're really trying to maximize your salary outcome and all that stuff, you should like think critically, like who's the peer of this company. So it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if this Canada is being that savvy in revealing that information.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Hamo. Like, I think we are in the same situation where, like, I think a lot of the companies we help also just end up trying to hire you, right? I think one thing we've always talked about is this idea, like, it's actually beneficial for us to exist on like a different plane, which is like the open source, which is almost like the network deal making side of things, rather than on the side of like employee. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that too, just from like. Broadcast and stuff.
So I have this conversation like every week, at least like twice with my clients. Like, hey, like they schedule a meeting on my calendar. Like the founder say, hey, just want to talk to you. Okay, and it's always it's always like, hey, like really want you to work here. And I actually have to tell every person, I'm like, hey, you know what, like if I was the reason that you hired me to begin with is because I'm not working here, because I'm doing lots of work in open source. I'm working with other companies. I'm able to like facilitate partnerships between you and design partners and other vendors and open source projects you might want to integrate with. And those are things I couldn't do if I worked here. And you can't really like capture that in that magic in a bottle and say like you want that as a full-time employee. That's just very different. You wouldn't get all of those things like that. I wouldn't have to. And I have like also I tell them like, look, I spend a lot of time just playing around, of just like trying stuff that interests me, and like some of those, and then I like a lot of those clients, they like hired me because of some blog post of like whatever. I'm like, remember that blog post? That was just me like playing around. If I'm working here, like I don't have time to write that stuff. Yeah. And so just remind them. But I think it's like really interesting. I think people, there's like a special place for like these advisory roles. If done correctly, you can like offer something that employees can't.
Yeah. I don't know if Chip just made a face. You want to
She's like,
respond?
no, yeah, maybe you're skeptical.
So to be disclaimer, I do advise a few companies. And as a founder, right, we use before I also work with advisors. And one thing I realize is like a lot of founders are not looking for advice. I'm not sure what advisors do, but I feel like strategy is not something like, yeah, a lot of time people don't, a lot of times talking to founders, they know what they need to do. They just need someone to do it.
To
So a lot of
execute.
times they need people to execute, not strategy or advice.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like usually with companies, I usually think of, it felt like, it's usually just like a lot of time, like as a team, like as a startup, you have 1,000 of things you need to get done. And usually as a founder, sometimes you feel bad asking your team like to do certain things because they're very boring. Like you're just like really just digging a hole or something. It's very boring work. So you just do it yourself. But sometimes it's like if you have like an advisor that who's just like willing to like do a lot of this stuff for you, even if it's not glamorous. I felt like that is just like you can think of as like fractional founder, co-founder, or things like that.
That's
What-
interesting. I mean, I guess like what I find that I do is I help people execute by leading them through a very structured process of the execution, so they don't waste their time going down like the wrong rabbit holes, using the wrong technology, doing the wrong things, making mistakes they shouldn't be making. And so like I take them from the place of like basically like where they're paralyzed by like too many decisions and too many like, hey, what do we do, to like, hey, we're going to do this week, next week we're doing this. We do it
Too much
together.
coaching.
They're doing a lot of work, obviously, because not my company, but it gets them through the process much faster.
Yeah. I guess maybe I'm curious. I think with like Hamel and I, we mostly are helping companies where the founders are not machine learning people, right? And they're very much like software people who are just like reading blog posts and going like, okay, like 20 things came out on Twitter. What is the next thing I should be doing? And I was like, none of that. Just like write tests. Like go set up your harness. Once you have this, all your anxiety will be gone because now you can just like prioritize how you do your experiments, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know, maybe like what would be an example of like the unglamorous work that the advisor is helping do that the founder would have done themselves? Like, is
Well,
it
it's
like,
a lot, huh?
maybe it's like too specific?
That's a good question. Yeah, I like that question. I'm curious.
Mm, okay, I want to say something that I feel like I'm gonna try not to reveal too much. Okay, for example, like one thing is just like first of all hiring, right?
Yeah.
Hiring's a lot of time. I feel like being founders, you just sometimes it's just like for certain skill set, it's extremely hard to hire for. So it's like you just put a job description out there and get recruiters. Is like it's gonna be a hard chance of finding these people. So like for example, a certain role, I feel like maybe it's just put like 1,000 people in the world who are really good at that. So like the process, like approach, like making like go. For example, like for this one company, and it's like okay, this skill sets they want to hire for. And I just really did some manual work of like going through like, and I was like, okay, here one's a project that fit this, and just go through like every single person, like who is good at that, and just like basically a spreadsheet. It's just like a tedious work, like really boring. But at the end, we have like, okay, here's just like 1,000 of these like the best people in the world on this. And I feel like recruiter, unless the recruiter have a very strong technical skills and knows the space well, they're not going to be able to create that list. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good example because I'm literally doing that now, and I'm just crying blood out my eye sockets. Like, just like how come there's so many people with like no experience and like 6-page resumes? Like, why is the first page just like the word XGBoost and Kubernetes? Like give me a number that has led to a business outcome. And
Jupyter
it's like
notebook,
It's so hard.
What's on those 6-page resumes if they have no experience? Publications?
The first page is like a mission statement. The second page is just like a list of every tool that they've ever used. They're just like Circle CI, XGBoost, AWS CLI. But it's like everything they've ever pip installed.
Okay. Sorry,
Like-
bro.
Like, I mean, it makes sense, but when I was like 20, I'm sure I did that too. Of like, I know PyTorch and TensorFlow, and I've written like chain. Now I'm just like, I write primarily Python, right? But I recognize that this is like a security thing. But it's like, who's reading that?
No one.
Right.
So yeah, maybe there's a resume writing course. I know Trips Discord has this thing about critique your resume.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe I can also share about some of the really boring stuff that when I hire my team, I just can't make them do it. So previously I was in a startup, right? The really boring stuff, and I don't know, some of you may have to actually do this. It's like pitching for clients, right? Like previously I was a startup, pitching for clients, working with them, sitting down with their ops, looking at their ops, doing all the qualitative reviews, like what are they actually doing? What are we trying to automate? Things like this, like getting clients, talking to governments, getting award, accreditation, certification, all of this matters to your future clients, right?
SOC 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's like HIPAA compliance. So all of that is, it's not the fun stuff of machine learning, but it builds a business.
Yeah.
So
One thing I do, which maybe I should do less of, is I'm the one that like looks at all the data.
Oh yeah, I look at
You-
lots of data. Like
you need to
like
teach other people how to do that.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
I'm
right.
like the only one how to do that, but I just need to scale. I don't know how to scale beyond that. I don't know how
It's tough, because I mean, like one of the things right now is like, you know, like with one company, we're just like shipping the product soon, right? But there's just like prompting stuff that we've done, and so I just like, okay, like every day I'm gonna spend 45 minutes and just look at 1,000 transcripts. And
no,
I'll
but
just,
that's like really high value stuff. I mean, like
and I just have like a live voice memo of just like, there seems to be an issue with the way action items are being generated. I don't like the tense, you know, like the transcripts are like the length of length of the notes do not reflect the length of the transcript. Names are being used wrong. I'm like reading just like sales calls going like, did not mention pain points. Like,
yeah, you have to do like equal parts work and equal parts advice. It's not just like to Chip's point, it's not just like, hey, we're just giving advice. That's it.
Yeah.
And not touching any grass at all. I'm using that term a little bit differently, but
too much.
but yeah, touch the keyboard. Yeah.
But Hamel, how do you make people look at the data? This is the one thing that I'm obsessed about. I look at data a lot.
Yeah.
And I see so often that people around me don't pay enough attention.
Yeah,
and
you have
if
to
they
shame people into it. So basically, it's like you're like, oh, this data is great, and you're like, hey, like, look at all the problems in this data, like, and
yes, I give feedback and then they fix it, and then the next time a new problem comes up and they just didn't pay attention to it. It's like sparsity, evals, and everything. And I'm now the bottleneck, which I don't want to be. But how can I put this look at the data mindset? I actually wrote a long tweet about this, and I shared all those tweets about how people like Andre Kapati, Jason Wei, Greg Broadman, about how looking at data is important, right? I'm trying to gather the ammunition so that when I'm gonna do a session about why it's important to look at data. So I have all this ammunition ready.
Maybe this is a good question to ask
convince
Brian.
people.
I feel like you run the team, you're the head of AI. Maybe that means that your head is just like in a translator frame somewhere, like lessing through, like, what does that look like?
I look at a lot of data. Yeah, I mean, I look at a lot of like inputs
400
and outputs.
prompts.
Yeah, and I look at sort of like misbehaviors. And one of the nice things about working on an AI copilot for data is I can use that AI copilot to look at the data itself. By the way, this is my new axe to grind, which is like basically like you don't need an evals framework, you just need a data scientist. And like I think
Same thing.
yeah. And I think that's the sort of like over the last year, that's been the number one thing that I've become more and more convinced of, is that like spending time really, really staring at every row of the data is very valuable. I was at a dinner with the like AI lead at Notion, and she said they do weekly parties where they look at like examples
Data.
from Notion, and they like talk about those examples, and like the flops and the props, and I was like, hell yeah, like you love to hear it.
Props.
Obviously, like they still have a lot more to look at before it's useful, but like that being said, I like they're trying, and I think that is like definitely an opportunity to improve. So yeah, it's about as boring as it gets in terms of like how to improve your AI, but
I think it's really like
boring. You think it's boring?
I think it's exciting. Like it's exciting.
I feel like Copernicus. I'm like about to discover that the sun revolves around the Earth revolves around the sun. Like I'm just like,
it's like I know that if you give me a data set, I can find something wrong with it in 5 minutes.
Yes.
And,
but how do you teach other people to do it? And how do you convince them that this is an important skill? And you know,
I shaming, by the way, it's like shaming in a nice way. Like it's like hey, like you show like, okay, this is what you found. How you show it, like you do it fast, and you kind of like succinctly like how you did it and whatever. And then like after some time, I found that people are like when they come with a problem, I say like, did you look at the data? And just by me just saying those words like drives like fear, because they're like, okay, if I say yes, this guy's gonna find it in 5 minutes. He's gonna find a problem in the data. So,
I actually say something.
You're
similar.
like the mom that's like the keys are in your jacket pocket.
Yeah, I actually something like,
when they come over,
do you need me to check the data? And like, okay, shit, I better check it first. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I don't need you to check the data. And then I check the data, and usually it's okay.
That's a good trick. Like, should I check the data? Yeah,
should I check the data?
Chain them into it.
It's not. I think I learned this from someone was trying to write a speech for.
Do you need me to come over there?
Yeah, or like, do you need me to read
you?
the draft? And he only reads it after they say, I don't need you to check the draft, because like, okay, it has met the person's internal quality. Yeah. Right. So and I learned that Notion, like someone from Notion also taught me that trick. They have weekly labeling parties. And Jason also mentioned about that. Stand Up has what, a 15-minute where you look at defects, right?
Like, here's what I did yesterday. Here's what I'm doing today. Here are my blockers. Great. It's the AI's turn. Like, here are the queries that return like no results. Here are some good ones. Here are the
Hamel sends an Excel sheet, what, once a week, once a day of the 25 defects. I'm trying to find a mechanism to do this, and I'm to help people get comfortable with looking at data. And try to do that.
Just program a glitter bomb to explode when they don't open the Excel spreadsheet of data. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just like, I don't know, man. I feel like
I wanted to talk about something that Brian mentioned. Okay, you don't need evals; you just need a data scientist. Then how will the data scientists always be working on that same project, just looking at the data? How can they build automated evals and then move on to the next project?
I don't say you don't need evals. I say you don't need an eval product. You don't need to buy.
You don't buy it.
Because I think what those evals products are trying to do is they're trying to like reduce the need for like humans to look at the performance. But I think that's where the big alpha is. But I mean, even in like classic like product analytics and product development, like the data scientist often does generate evals as they understand.
Yes.
Whether they generate them.
I see.
Different. But
I misunderstood your point then, but I fully agree with how you're framing it now. And I actually loved how you mentioned about it in the panel that you had, right? Figuring out the simple heuristics. I think you had this saying that if you're telling me that you can't write an eval, you're not trying hard enough, or I think something like that.
Yeah. No, I do think that like, you should be able to, like, every misbehavior, when you look at a model misbehavior, you should be able to boil it down to like, which question did it fail to like get a green on? And like, you should be able to boil them down to a bunch of like, validations. I was talking to an evals company recently, and I kind of went through this with them. And I think it's interesting, even the evals founders are starting to like come around to this as well, that like it's a little data sciencey. My evolving opinion of the eval space is there are three kinds of evals companies. There is the ones that want to be Circle CI. There are the ones that want to be sort of like Datadog.
Yeah.
And then there are ones that want to be Hex. And I think
wow, way to define the category, then put yourself in it.
I know. I know. I've been hesitant to say it because of that.
Another like way to like also frame it is a lot of people they want to just do away with all processes. They're like, give me the tools, but that's not the right way of attacking every problem. Like there's some problems where you have to go through the process. There's not a tool. It's not, the answer is not tools. Like
it's the same as like, oh, like give me the multivitamin that'll make me healthy. It's like no, you just gotta like wake up and like
go through
and do exercise.
Exercise.
And I don't know, something about engineers, or I don't know, something like when I bring up like, hey, you're gonna have to go through this data labeling process. Like, what's the tool? What's the tool? Give me the tool. It's like, I'm like, no, there's no tool. Like,
there's no tool.
I'm serious. This is like every single step of the way in the LLM or in the AI process. Like when I bring something up, like, hey, we're gonna do this. There's like this, like almost like this rabid, like, where's the tool? Like eyes get big, like, show me the tool. Where are the tools? Like, can you list the tools? I'm like, no, like we have to go through.
Let me share an analogy, and then I also want to answer some questions in the chat. The analogy I use a lot is like some problems are like clocks and other problems are like pottery, right? In engineering, you sometimes find out, oh, if the clock's running slow, you just like take the gear out. That's the problem. When you like add some lubricant, you put it back in and it works again, right? Whereas like in pottery, a lot of it is, well, you need to first like get the bollocks and you got to put it right in the middle. Like if it's not in the middle and you start like doing everything else, like none of this works.
Yep.
And I think like the data is kind of the same way, where like you don't like get the model and you tune it a certain way and then things get fixed, right? You have to like prepare the data first and make sure that's like there's no like air bubbles in your clay, and you got to make sure the clay is centered perfectly. And then once you're doing that, like train the model is like the easiest thing ever. It's like 2 lines of Python code.
Train
like,
a model is nothing. It's
like it's just dot fit.
You're
right?
just squeezing data through some weights.
Yeah.
And I mean, on my monitor, I have like six panes, and it's like just data streaming through, right? It's like it's really just thing coming. It's really just generated text coming out, and I'm just looking at it, and then on the other side, the big chunk of it in the middle is an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm annotating data. People come to my desk and it's like, wait, this is one of the most senior scientists in our team, and this is what he does. I was like, I'm looking at the data. I was like, they just cannot believe it. It's like, you are annotating the data. It's
like the closest you're gonna get like talking to a customer as a founder.
It's like how if not, how do you get the defects? How do you understand? It's like, I'm really trying to make a point that, guys, look at the data. I don't know if I'm getting anywhere because it's also very tedious, boring work.
Yeah.
But I really think it's so key to doing well, right? And I don't have to convince you guys here because I've asked you this and we chatted about this so many times.
I do want to pull up this question because I feel like I am very curious. 1 second.
Ooh.
Can I just like rant a little bit on this first, and then maybe like I think
go for it.
So number one, like keep it short, because like I will be reading your resume in the presence of like 100 other resumes, and if it's like 3 pages long, I already like don't want to read it. Like I'm just sorry, but like I just hate it. Like it's just there's so much work to be done. The second thing too is I really care about numbers and I really care about like outcomes, and every adjective will make me more skeptical of what you've done. Right? If you said like improve the performance of the model by training it on XGBoost, like you've given me everything except how it improved, right? Where it's like if you just say, okay, improved accuracy by like 3%, right? And this is meaningful because it resulted in 1% increase in like margins or in accuracy or in false positives. At least I know that you're thinking about what you're measuring with the most, right? And so like every time you have an adjective, just replace it with a number. And if you can't, like get rid of it.
Can I jump in on that one? Because I think I slightly disagree with you.
Okay, sure.
I get annoyed by resumes that are like, everything you've done has increased the valuation of the company by like $10 million. Because I often find myself thinking like, really? Because like I didn't see their like market cap jump, like 5% last quarter, and like, and like some of the numbers they just like they don't feel realistic to me. And so what I actually get more excited about, other than your like supposed $10 million that you've always generated every quarter, whatever, Like the thing that I get more excited about is what problem you solved. And I think it's very related to what you're saying, Jason.
Yep.
I think it's just I'm less excited by the number and I'm more excited about like, tell me what problem you actually solved.
Yeah.
As an example, Jason, like something that we worked on together, like capitalism, like that project, like number of dollars, probably zero if we're being really honest with ourselves. But like problem for the user, like we were really focused on a user problem and it was really like trying super hard to think what is the job to be done, which is a person has a vague sense of what they want and they want to find it in our catalog. And that felt really like an honest, like we were focused on the product,
Right.
even though due to other forces, probably like number there, probably zero.
Right.
And I would argue that in this case, the number is not the achievement, right? But shipping it and solving this hard new problem for the customer. So for example, we run A/B tests. Sometimes not all A/B tests work out. Does that mean that all the failures don't count? I don't think so.
But it's like
I find that's really
the
interesting that y'all are giving this kind of answer, because for all the people on this call, I would say you have ascended all of these things by working in public, and that now people are very familiar with your way of thinking. And if you see like Brian or Eugene or Jason applying for a job, and if you're on the other side, you're like, oh, okay. Like you instantly, you might, if you're familiar with your work, which is high probability at this point, you're not gonna be like, oh, like what was the percent increase? Or you're not gonna necessarily be like, you don't even need to know necessarily what problems they solved. You kind of are like, okay, yeah, I kind of like the way this person thinks. I kind of understand what their general skills are. And you like you can like it depends, right? Like you can also go, it can be negative, like someone might have negative opinion about one of us or something like that. They don't like our writing, whatever. But you know, like that also increases your surface area of luck. And that's a big part of what all of y'all do. So I don't know.
I think
It's a fair point.
I wanted to double down on that. I think I answered, right? I mean, like the speakers here, my answer is that they do the work, which is really not really work. It's fun projects to them, and they just share it online. They just take the 1-2 days to write the documentation, which is just writing or tweets, right? Let me just share with you an actual example. Previously, when I was in IBM about 10 years ago, I was taking part in Kaggle competitions. So I did this Kaggle competition, product classification, and I like got top 3%. Nothing very interesting, but at that point in time, like someone was asking me, it's like, hey, Eugene, do you want to present this at a meetup? So I presented this at a meetup, and one of the scientists from an e-commerce startup, he was there, and he then took the meetup recording and he sent it to his boss. The next day, like a week later, they invited me for lunch, right? And then they were like chatting, oh, product classification, tell us how you did it. Oh, then I thought, oh, how did the top 3 winning solutions did? And then so thankfully I studied those at that point in time because I was really curious. And they said, oh, how would you do this for Vietnamese or Indonesian? And then they were starting to think about how you could solve the problem for them. Next day I got an offer.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I did fun work, I shared it, and an offer just came in. Now, the next startup I joined, I asked them, hey, how do you know about me? Oh, we saw you write a post about this exact problem, which was image search and image classification, and how you solved it. And then we played with your prototype, and we want you to hire you to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, a lot of times it's like, people want to hire ML or Jason to do the same thing, right? So if you do the fun work out there first, make sure it's fun for you, so that even if there's no benefit, there's no multiplayer payoff, you still get single player payoff. And then just take the time to share it out there. Like 99% of them no one will read it, no one will even bother, but sometimes you just get lucky, and that's my personal story.
Why are you skeptical, Jason? I want to know.
I still think that these, like, if you end up working with the person who is like allocating capital, the easiest equation that you can give them is just like the numbers, right? Like when I sell like the consulting work, it's like, hey, like I've managed like data labeling budgets of about like $400,000. Whatever you're doing right now is a subset of that. Like if I need, I've thought more carefully about how to spend this money, and you're worried about spending 30 grand, like I can definitely help. Like I've served customers. I've served like 300, 400 million requests a week. Like I understand like what observability looks like if you're in that like domain, right? I've done multimodal embeddings. I've done like this search stuff. I've done this search with this many customers with this many issues, and I've been like I've been on call for these systems. You're just buying your time back. You're paying money to regret less. Like that's the outcome. Like I mean, sometimes I can't very say that I've done this thing where I've like increased your multiple, right?
But I think
the way I
don't you
presented
have
it,
the
like,
conversation
your toilet is
after
overflowing
the
with shit, and I'm a plumber. And like this is all that. This is the only conversation that matters when I'm doing this like sales work.
So I think isn't that lower in the funnel? Like these conversations, like you tailor it to that person, and you're like, "Hey, this is how I can help solve your problem."
Yeah.
But this like maybe this luck surface area getting hired. I don't know. For some reason, I
think it's
interpret
about,
the
like,
question as
for
like
me, it's like, can
more
you
upper.
show me that like you know what I care about, right? Like
I think I
you're
understand
telling
what
me that you're gonna help me look at my data and like think of these metrics and show me what success looks like. Well, do you know what success looks like? Because you training a model is not success to me. Like you training a
Totally.
model
No,
is
just totally like when like. But I guess like what I'm saying is like for them to get in touch with you in the first place. My perception is like people are getting in touch with you constantly, like to hire you like every week because of the public work, and then you go down and then
Yes.
tell them why.
But I think when you see the resume, right? It's
I
like, man,
see,
if
I
you're just
see.
like, I trained model to do this, like I trained in the random forest model. Like, okay.
Yeah, I think maybe Jason's addressing about how to get hired, and then maybe Mel was talking about increasing like surface area. So yeah, I think we're both addressing the question in one.
Oh yeah, I
that
guess
way,
if it's like super luck surface area, you want to like not even be part of the funnel, right? Like the luck surface area is just like be on Twitter versus like improve the resume.
I would
think that's
actually
very
debate
powerful.
that. I don't know if the best hiring managers are actually looking at Twitter. There's some inside circle, right? Like I get conference invites right from random emails.
Again, I think this is a Brian question.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, I'm for Brian. He just writes a book on Jacks and Rexes, and then that's it.
No, he's the one. He's like observing the surface area. Like he's hiring.
Yeah, I mean, I've interviewed people that I've gotten connected through on Twitter. I've had people go pretty far in the pipeline from Twitter connections and LinkedIn. I think one of those super high upside people came from Twitter. There's a pretty notorious Twitter person that like really did well in the like interview process. So like, I don't know. I look at Twitter. I'm open to it. If I see somebody posting like things that I think are like interesting and like curious, like I click on their profile and I say like, I wonder, and I like look at a couple things based on their profile and I like ask myself that question. Like I think one thing that I'm hearing though that I think I agree with is like the more you put out there in terms of like the things that you've worked on, the things that you've like thought about, the more shots on goal you have of catching
plus one.
attention. And so like I do see like Hammel's point here, which is you just need that like you need a lot of hooks in the water. And I think especially if you want opportunities to be opened that aren't you soliciting. And what I've been told a lot, especially lately, is that it is a painful market if you are searching. I've just heard it's really, really painful market from that side. So yeah, I think I feel aligned with Hammel's claim.
Yeah, and Jay mentions actually, Jason, could you pull up his comment? Hey, I'm not really good at sharing online at this time. I need to share work more publicly. So how can we make it easier to share work more publicly? Do you have any tips? I'm sure no one started writing online or sharing work publicly, just comfortable with it.
I mean, I think I'm the one that like started the latest. Like, I think I started sharing publicly maybe last year. The real thing is just like, it's not about like sharing things publicly. You're just documenting things and it happens to be in public. I don't know if it like describes anything, but I'm just like Twitter is just my journal, and at some point, like enough people follow me that I can like say other things. But it really is just documenting process, right? If you like, it's just like the notebook that you're like drawing on the subway. But you know what I mean? Like you shouldn't think of it as like there is an audience that I'm preparing this material for in order to like get views.
Yes.
It's more like, oh, if I just post this, I can like look back at my progress. And like between Twitter and Obsidian, maybe Twitter is more interesting because when I have a question, I might be able to get some back help. Right.
I feel very strongly about this, and I want to really jump in. I think you mentioned something like, I'm going to post this thing for some extrinsic motivation, extrinsic reward, like a job offer or something. I think that's not sustainable. For me, when I write about it, that's why I mentioned a lot about single player game, right? You're writing about it for yourself, for your own documentation to improve your writing, and then you're sharing just online, right? And then whenever people ask me, hey, how do you write more? How do you write more online? Like, I'm worried about other people reading it. Well, let me try to say something that maybe I shouldn't say so publicly, but very candidly. No one's going to read the first 100 things that you write. Just think of it that way. You're reading it you're writing it for yourself. You're improving it for yourself. And the first, 20, 30, 40, 50 things that you write, no one's going to read it. So just be yourself and write with your own voice. Just writing for yourself. Just remember, you're just writing for yourself. And that's it.
And so concretely, like a lot of people get confused, like, what do you mean write for yourself? And I think one useful thing is like actually write some documentation for yourself. Like you don't know how to do something and you're like, you know what, you're just writing like your own notes. And you have an idea, like you're going to refer to this thing later because you actually don't have it memorized. And it's something very confusing or whatever. You just want to explain it to yourself. And I still write like that. Like almost everything that I write is for that.
I love that. I write like that because the answer I'm trying to find is just not online. And the way for me to find that answer is to force myself to be rigorous and to try to write it.
I mean, I literally wrote an entire fucking book for this reason. So
because Brian knows nothing about Rexes, so he had to write a book about Rexes.
Yeah. I mean, like, more than anything, that was what really led me to write the book on Rexes. Was like, I would like to actually like feel confident in these ideas. I'll just spend the next 2 years. I also think one thing though that I was thinking as we were talking about this is like, I think all four of us have different levels of like polish in our writing, and I think it's actually like it's pretty interesting because all of us share a fair bit. But like my personal, like when I look at like the four of us as like corpi, like
just say it.
Yeah, no, like I'm gonna like I feel like Eugene's is the highest like quality bar. Like the stuff that's out there is like really well thought out to the point where I'm like sometimes annoyed at like how fully birthed it is. Hommel's is like very technical. And it feels very well thought out in terms of like what's happening, but it doesn't feel like there's been a lot of like final stage polish on the like beautification and like for instance like Eugene's diagrams are like very attractive and like there's like a difference. Like I'm expecting like a lot more technical content in Hommel's work, but a little bit less of this like what feels like a professionally produced document. Mine is like naive and stupid, and then Jason's is like,
you can't just say that. That's bullshit. No, it's not naive and stupid. I can't let you get away with that.
My point is like, but Jason's is like the most raw. Yes. And I don't necessarily think that's like a bad raw, but it is like you get to see this like evolution. I remember seeing recently someone was talking about this cool idea with like LLMs, which are like, isn't the entire GitHub history of like a project a really interesting training corpus for LLMs? Because you get to see every little iteration back and forth. And when I saw that, I was thinking like, you kind of get that with like Jason's writing. Like you get this like evolution of his thinking in his writing. And I think it's really interesting, like those like bounds. Like That's
Like,
my
the artifact of my writing is not the blog post, but it is the history. Like, if you want to see how I've been thinking about like pricing and like valuing my own services, you can like look at the Git commit history.
exactly.
Because that to me is like the performance art. It's like the Git
That's-
log. It's not
That's
the
actually
work
the
itself.
first thing I told Jason when I met him in person. I was like, Jason, you're freaking spontaneous and you just put it out there, right? I want to learn to live a little bit more like Jason.
Like a lot of the
Right.
writing for me has come from like I got out of a stand-up. I'm not really happy with the result of like the quality of, you know, the thinking. It's like, okay, this needs to be put down on paper, like Command P, 10 things we need to do better as a
Yeah.
team. And then I go and I just send this to Joseph, my writer,
Wow.
and like clean it up. Like almost every blog post outside of the advice one took about 40 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn from that. Like, I send this your writer.
I gotta jump off, so I'm gonna maybe I'll join back in like 10 minutes. But
Is that Charles Fry?
yes. We're
why isn't
working
he
on a
just
blog
on here?
post together.
You can invite him here if you want.
No,
Unless
it's a work
private.
meeting. It's a work
Oh,
meeting.
Yeah, not even
A
that.
work meeting? Like bring him up here.
Yeah,
And then we just say
okay, I'll
we
do
just
it
put a
afterwards,
pause
I'll do it
screen on the
afterwards, I'll do it
YouTube.
afterwards.
No.
All right,
Quickly.
sure.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Hamel, you were saying?
No, I was like, I actually employ the same writer that
Yeah, Joseph.
Jason does.
Yeah,
Oh.
I spoke to him as well.
Because I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. Let me experiment with it.
Huh.
Because like Jason has a lot of cool ideas about consulting, like that are different than mine. I'm like, oh, okay, this is like, let me try it. Like whatever you're having, let me try it too. So yeah, like I pointed the same guy at a podcast and said, like, can you just write a blog post? Like Dan did the same thing, like a podcast that I did already with someone. And then, but I was like, oh my God, I have to like really edit it for what I feel. And
Your
I think
voice?
Jason,
Was it voice or content?
maybe a little bit of both, like my style of voice. I would expand certain things and I would delete some certain things and whatever. It was like very helpful though to like remove writer's block in a way that ChatGPT is a little bit better. It's a bit better than ChatGPT, like in the sense it's like actually thoughtful human going through and trying to write something and like put some like get me thinking about things. So it's extremely helpful. But I'm not like it's like it would be better if like I could find a way to just be like, you know what? Just release it. Like in a way, like this raw, just something.
Just let go of
more
your
raw.
standards, right?
Yeah, let go
just
of something. But I'm like, oh, it's not my voice. It's a balance. Like the process of the writing is also important in here. It's not the work, the outcome. Sometimes I have to like think about it. I want to think about it even. So yeah, it's like hard.
One challenge I
ahead.
face is I don't have a really good static site generator where I can't like quickly spin up a blog based on a mixture of like technical content and just like writing. Does anyone have any recommendations for one?
Are you?
Hamel has his,
I think
Hamel
you're
has his
trying to roast me.
favorite.
You're trying to roast me. Right now. You're trying to like trying to trigger me right now. Trying to trigger me.
I know what Hamel's gonna say, so
No,
say
this is a joke. I think you're just like trigger me.
It's like kind of a joke, but it's also like I genuinely like do want to check out Corto. So I'm like, as much as I'm trolling you, it's only because I'm genuinely interested, not because I like think it's bullshit. If I thought it was bullshit, I just wouldn't mention it. But,
No, yeah. It's totally fine. I mean, please tell me. Yeah, I mean, if it's something's bullshit, there's totally probably something that I believe is bullshit. Yeah, Corto is like it has like a learning curve. It has like a little bit. I'd say it's a steeper learning curve than like a lot of static site generators because there's just so many things you can do with it. Like the documentation is like insane. If you look at the documentation website, it has like so many pages and so much stuff. I was forced to learn it extremely deeply because I built in it. Because like when I was doing MB dev, basically it's like building on like a programming language that was like a framework that was basically strongly tied to Corto and all of the little details of Corto, to the point of like, yeah, like extending Corto itself and doing all this shit. So it's like, but it's like super powerful because, I mean, like honestly, my favorite feature is like using notebooks as docs. Because like, I mean, when you're writing technical content, it's like you have code and you have words, and like, and you want to run that code, and I want to see the output of, like, I don't know, like how you have to have a notebook for that. right? Like
I
I don't
agree.
know another way. I mean, you can have Markdown, but see, like you have a Markdown, it's like then you have to run your code somewhere else that's not, and then there's it's like a lot of trouble. So just that alone is,
Totally.
you know,
Yeah.
everything for me. So
Yeah.
that's.
I mean, I work at a notebook company, so I'm clearly not like gonna like tell you I disagree, but
Can you export hex to Jupyter yet? Or you can't?
yeah.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay,
YAML or IPy and B.
okay. So I guess you could write a blog post in hex.
Totally.
I guess like totally, and just have it directly rendered by Quarto.
Absolutely. That's something I'm kind of curious to try. It's one of the things that I'm like, I'm curious.
It'll probably work really well because like one smart thing is, so it's unlike other kind of document. So okay, like for example, let me just Jupyter book. So okay, one thing about rendering documentation from notebooks is like you want special cell tags. Like if you want to hide a cell, if you only want to hide the output, if you only want to hide the code but show the output, all different things like that. Or if you want to like not run a cell on render time, or you want to do something specific, you can do all kinds of things, right? So like a lot of times, like those like some static site generators try to embed it in like cell metadata, but what Quarto does is like no, it's just special comments. So the special comments are more likely to be compatible with anything, because like if you put a special comment in hex, it's just going to be a comment in the cell, and then like Quarto is going to render it.
Nice.
Whereas like I don't know if you guys support the cell tags in all this, like which a lot of people don't. So it's like that's a very smart thing that they do.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I teach my class out of Hex, and I was thinking that Quarto might be a nice way to like provide static assets as well, because some of my students like they've given me feedback that like sometimes they want essentially a PDF version of the like class notebook, and I'm like that's justifiable. And so I'm like, what's the right way to do that? Like, how should I be providing it? And so these are some of the things that I've been stewing over.
I like it so much that I have a little tool for myself called NB Sanity. And basically, if you're looking at any notebook on GitHub, you just change the github.com, you just change it to NB Sanity, and it'll re-render it as a Quarto. Because like you can't, looking at notebooks on GitHub sucks.
Yeah, it does.
So this is just like
NB Viewer as well.
They have NB Viewer, but like NB Viewer, okay, like like Quarto is really nice at like I can put like things like table of contents and like all the nice Quarto stuff I can like enable by default. So I'm like, I just use this tool, just change the. Eugene's trying it right now.
No, I was looking for it. I was like, oh wow, wait, did Hamel host this?
Yeah, I
like,
host it. Yeah,
I was like,
whoa.
And then I found the GitHub repo which has way fewer stars than it should have. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna.
I didn't really like make too much of a big deal about it. It's not that much code. It's like very little code. Like,
what do you say what do you say that it does differently?
It just like renders stuff really nicely. Like renders notebooks like really, really nicely in a way that, and I like.
Yeah, I think I understand. Okay.
And also, it like if it happens to be a Quarto notebook with the special comments, just if it happens to be that, then it'll render. I mean, it'll render it the right. It'll do the right thing.
Yep. I love it. I want to share with more people, but I don't know if YouTube will accept links, but we'll see. I think I want to comment about what Brian was talking about our writing, right? And I don't know if this will be helpful for other writers out there. So I think, and I'm just gonna try to assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that different people write for different audience. I think Hamel writes for the developers, right? That's why he has writing such as shut up and show me the prompt, right? He's like trying to make a point to the two developers and everything.
You left out a keyword.
Yeah. No, so then for me, I'll be open. I actually write for my business leaders. It's like, hey, how are we gonna use generative AI, like what do we need to care about? Fine tuning is really important. Guardrails is really important. Retrieval augmented, because I actually get questions. Hey, what's the difference between fine tuning and retrieval augmented generation? And then I record a video to explain it. And then the second time I do it, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna write this thing, and then you can go read it. And they actually do read it, which I'm surprised for a business leader. And then that's how it guides my writing. Like I think a lot about evals. I think about synthetic data. So I'm gonna actually try to write something about the developer's guide to evals, which I may actually just float the draft to y'all. So it really matters to think about your audience. So think about the one single audience that you want to write for, and just write for them. Right? Don't think about too many people. It just makes it harder to start writing online.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that evals thing.
It's very basic. I'm only gonna write evals for 3 use cases: classification, summarization, and translation.
Cool.
So nothing with code generation, which I'm sure and code generation, I think it's programmatically evaluable. You can evaluate it programmatically, like generate some data, check the data, right? Yeah, execution, right? Check syntax and everything. So I think it's a little bit easier, but of course I don't know all the weeds and details of it, because I don't do code generation that much in my day job.
Yeah, I've been thinking about writing a different kind of article about evals, but yeah,
I would love to read that. That's the thing. I'm trying to consume as much practical eval knowledge as I can.
I'm actually like that podcast that guy is helping me write a thing on evals that I have to refactor.
Oh wow, there's
it's
a
not
lot
like
of good
about
eval
it's
content
like,
coming up.
but everything involves eval. So it's like when you say writing about, it's like if you can't write about LLMs without writing about eval, it's like hard.
Sure.
I think so. Yeah.
Sounds like we should try to produce a larger artifact on evals. Jason, I know, has also been asking about this. I think I have like 2 text messages from him about should we write a book on evals. So yeah.
You mean Jason Liu?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was writing. I think he had this thing about the N levels of eval for RAG. Right?
Yeah.
He was supposed to be, so I was like, okay, he's gonna take care of retrieval. I'm just gonna take care of these 3 tasks, and then Brian will take care of code generation, and Hamel will take care of other things, and then we just sort of piece them together, and then okay, here's some kind of guidebook, playbook that people can use.
Interesting.
I have a question. Can evals be scaled? Is it scalable? So what do I mean? Guardrails, right? You build the guardrail models. You can almost use it for almost all use cases. Fine-tuning, the fine-tuning pipeline, the fine-tuning data. There is benefits from mixing fine-tuning data across different use cases. And you can, once you have it, you can just reuse it. But eval is difficult. I don't know how to scale eval yet across use cases like classification, summarization, translation. And almost every time it's almost like a new use case. Collect the eval data again, think about what metrics are important, figure out are you able to scale? Like have you had success scaling this?
So I've spoken to 2 evals companies that are both trying to do like LLM based evals, and
LLM based.
The approach of like using the LLM to generate new examples of a particular flavor, and the other one is taking the approach of sort of like looking at the output and asking the question of like, is this correct? And like really winnowing down the ways that it asks, is this correct?
Is it a human or is that an LLM answer the
They're
question?
both LLM based, and they both have some amount of human in the loop. I have personally like mixed results on LLM generated evals and LLM like instrumented evals. I've tried both at Hex, and like I've had pretty mixed reaction or experiences with them, in the sense that like almost every one that I've generated, I've had to have a human touch to really like get it right. And almost every one that I've implemented that's like sort of using the LLM to evaluate, it never feels like it measures up to what I care about. And so I remain a skeptic, but an eager and interested skeptic. So, yeah.
The thing sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I have done the same experiments and it fails miserably. I wish it works so I don't have to write the evals, and I have a more scalable process, but it has never worked for me. So I'm like more of a fan of just simple statistics things, like That's why classification regression and then training eval models, just simple classifiers, far outperform in terms of performance, cost, and latency. That has worked for me, and that's what I want to share with people about LM evals. Every time I see that, I was like, okay, you got to double your cost, you got to double your latency, and I try it. I try very hard to make it work, but it almost doesn't work. To the point of being reliable enough to catch. Evals are almost like guardrails. It's like almost never reliable enough to measure the statistical difference in improving performance, and almost never reliable enough to use your eval as a guardrail. But Hamel, I interrupted you.
No. So like, there's a rough framework in my mind, but it's not a tool. Okay, so don't get too excited. But it's like, okay, it's like there's like level 1 eval where it's basically like writing some kind of assertions. Like if it's like code generation, like does the code run? Or if it's like just generating something else, it's like, hey, basically all those dumb things that you notice from looking at all your data, like all those times you annotate data, like, oh my god, I can't believe like it's doing this bullshit thing. You like have that, and that's not really. I can't find myself scaling that part because it's very so domain specific. There's some little aspect of it that maybe can be scaled, like that level 1 type of thing is maybe kind of like could be like maybe some tools could be helpful there, like CI type, like not CI, but like unit testing type tools, but specific for LLMs that they're not. I don't
assertions. They are assertion based, right?
Assertion based, but like
assertion and
specific for,
statistics
like,
based.
yes, like specific for LLMs. I think there could be some better design there to make that better. Then there's like level 2 stuff, which is basically like, okay, and you pass all the dumps. You're not doing the dumb stuff anymore, but then you need to. There's more nuanced evaluation of LLM. It's like doing syntactically the right thing, or like the form and the whatever is plausible, but like there's nothing like structurally wrong with what it's saying, but the content and the semantics. And so that, what I always do is some form of, it's like human-based eval, but then I align a model to the human-based eval through lots of iteration, and I track the correlation between like the model and the human, and see if I can bring a model to become very correlated with the human. I can never cut the human out, like ever.
Of course.
But it's like, can I distill like the, like for example, I have a client, Honeycomb, which I've talked to you about, and there's a person I'm working with there called Philip. So like I'm creating Philip GPT is like a joke I have with them.
I do the same.
It's like, okay, can I like basically encode you, like your judgment into a model in various different ways, like starting with prompt engineering, then even fine tuning and all kinds of stuff. To the point of like having the model write critiques of why something is good or bad, and also telling me that's a key. There's like some key tactics, like having a model write a critique and the outcome is actually really important to guiding things. If you especially want to fine tune that model and stuff like that, that really helps with the fine tuning. But also helps the model do a better job at the task. I mean, it's a basic chain of thought.
Yeah.
So that part is like tricky. Scaling it, you can kind of scale it maybe with the right workflow, maybe in the right tool. The problem is like there are tools like that out there that just do that. There are tools out there that help you kind of go through your data, kind of evaluate, and then have like a model maybe attempt to help you label it and maybe even critique it. But it's so tied up in looking at your data. Like it's like this like really tight iteration loop between like looking at lots of data, constantly like seeding all your test cases with like more assertions and more dumb things. Like, are you looking at data? But then like also you're looking at your data, you're also evaluating if it's good or not. Like as well, you're doing level 2. You like if you're looking at your data, you're also doing this level 2 evaluation.
Yes.
And like the tools, these evaluation tools don't have like great interfaces for like looking at data. And what I mean by that is like, okay, looking at data is very domain specific. Like if I'm looking at hex data, I don't want to just see a fucking JSON blob of like code and shit. I want to see like what the rendered notebook looks like. If I like, because I'm a human being, I'm trying to read the data. Like what did that person type in to the notebook? And I want to see that. I want to see like a domain specific rendering of the data. So what tool is going to give me domain specific rendering of that data? And like, I might want to see that data. I might want to see some associated thing in a database. Maybe like Hex is making a call to a database or doing something, has a schema. I want to see like the metadata. I don't want to see metadata in some ugly JSON blob. I want to like, so every time I have this thing I'm looking at data, I have to construct a very specific domain specific data viewer. And then by the time I construct a domain specific data viewer, then I'm like, okay, well, might as well just add on this like annotation thing, add on like a way to curate this data. And then like I'm pretty much,
and then a database.
and then I'm like really far along the path of like creating this evaluation tool in a way. And then I'm like, okay, well, and that's the problem I have with evaluation tools is like, okay, it's how are you going to complete the workflow? And it's like, it's too disjoint to only like help you label data, but not look at it. It's like it's like very, very disjoint. So I don't know, like that's the thing that drives me nuts when I see the eval frameworks.
Earlier when I said there's 3 kinds of like evals companies and the third one is Hex, this is what I mean. Because all the things you just mentioned, where the fuck else am I going to do that? In Hex, that's the best place to do it. Like, it's a great place to do that workflow. Like, oh, I need to build a custom viewer. Well, I can just write the Python code. And like, turns out like Python notebooks are a pretty good way to build like somewhat relevant, like domain specific viewers for the inputs and outputs of each step of my agent chain. Oh, you want to quickly iterate through? Well, we've got input like parameter buttons that I can just click until I get to the one that I'm like concerned about. And oh, I want to be able to rank, or I want to be able to label these as like different values. That's actually also easy in a Hex project and like the application viewer. I actually make little apps to do exactly what you're talking about all in Hex. And this is exactly why I think one of the sort of like end states of eval systems is just Hex. And I worry that there's not another way to have all the flexibility that you're talking about that isn't a Jupyter notebook in the end. And because I like Hex for Jupyter notebooks, that's why I claim that that's the place that lands. So I'm 100% with you. Literally.
I mean, it's like the key thing is like, okay, if your user, but when they look at some data, like if you're looking at some data and you're like, okay, this data, you need to like click on 5 different things, 5 different applications to evaluate that data point.
Right.
Like you might want to look at, like you're looking at the raw data, something is wrong. You're like, I wonder how this data is actually presented to the user. Then you have to like go to the application and like whatever, fumble around, do something. And you're like, oh, I wonder what like the metadata behind this thing that was presented to the user. But like I can't read that metadata in the raw form because it's like a pain in the butt. So like let me format it differently in the separate thing. You know what? That you're not gonna be reviewing data. You're gonna be like, this sucks. You're gonna quit. You're gonna be like, forget this. You're gonna get another job. You're gonna be like, you have to remove all friction from this whole process. Otherwise, not gonna be successful. So it's like, yeah, like that part is interesting.
Yeah, this is the other part of what I think is emerging, which is the like debugger side, like building a debugger for your application where you can go into your application and say like, hey, what happened in this like bad outcome? Like going and being able to look up that outcome and saying like, show me everything that like took place in this like session. That sort of session debugger is another thing that's like really powerful.
Yeah. So they have like trace loggers, you know, like you get, but like, the trace loggers, look at, I can see the trace. I can see all the API calls made to the language model. But some of the API calls contain like payloads that are insane. And I'm like, I can't read this payload. And I'm like, okay, well, and then it's like maybe some output that's rendered to the user. I'm like, well, I don't like, well, how does it look? Like, I want to like, is it reasonable looking? Like shit like this. So it's like, it's hard because I haven't figured out a way, or haven't brainstormed something. I think notebooks kind of feels a little bit close because it's kind of this thing where you can like make little applications and like look at data and do whatever. So I understand where you're coming from. Like that's interesting.
For what it's worth, I also use it with notebooks, but I'm not as as elite and as 10x as Brian building little apps. I use notebooks and a lot of Python because I generate eval collection files for non-technical users, and most of the time the file is an Excel file. So I just use my Jupyter notebook to just do some tweaks. And Excel is really nice because it has things like validation, colors, and I can merge cells. I can add my instruction on the top. I wish I had a better way that doesn't require me to spin up a server somewhere and change code every time, and just very quickly send out structured eval files. But that's what I do as well. And all the documentation, all the eval voting, all the statistics on how many defects, everything, it's also all in notebooks, because where else are you actually able to plot graphs outside of notebooks? And graphs
I like the spreadsheets a lot. Like
I use it. I can't
Yeah.
find anything better, specifically because of validation. Okay, I only allow values of 1, 0, and 9 or something. If you enter a wrong value, it's gonna just not allow you to. And then the colors, I actually like to use colors a lot. Actually, only two colors, green and red. So if someone puts a red color, they know that, oh, I better be sure that it's solid. It's an important thing.
And another thing that's like really interesting that but I'm going to use next time is like you can bring the language models directly into Excel.
Cloud Excel, or
there's like the Claude thing, and then OpenAI, someone made a little plugin thing. But I'm like, oh, that's even better, because like I can like fiddle around with trying to align like a.
I see. I see what you mean.
Whatever.
I actually try to do something like this. And I take inspiration from Meta's self-reward model. If you read about it, basically they try to train their own model that actually does the human in the loop as the model. I'm sorry, Jason, just still on this boring topic. Still on this boring topic. So we do that, and then I've been able to get it to replicate very similarly to my PMN. And all this is like just 6 or 7 bullet points. Each bullet point is giving it a single point. So give it points, deduct points, give it points, deduct points. And then what we do, what I found to be absolutely essential is, of course, eval. Absolutely essential to do pairwise comparisons, and absolutely essential to do the flipping. I won't belabor this anymore because everyone says it. And when you do the flipping, make sure that you actually do your flipping code right, so that you actually don't score it the other way around, because I had a bug with that way.
Nice.
And
this happens in crowd labeling too.
I had that bug. I was like, hey, wait a minute, why is it always this thing winning? So and absolutely essential to allow it to say it's a tie. Because I read the chain of thought. It's really important. I read the chain of thought, and it's like it's saying that, option 1, option 2 are pretty good. They both hit all these points, but if I had to pick one, I'll just pick option 1, just because of one small nuance. Because you force it to pick something, right? It's really important. I find that having a tie removes a lot of the noise. And then the overall thing that I find is that, and then I have weak option 1, weak option 2, and option strong and weak. I find that the direction is usually right. The magnitude is usually underestimated. So essentially what I do is I iterate on this. If the direction and magnitude is in the positive direction of my new thing, and it's big enough, then I go to my PM, and then I do human eval. That has been useful. And we can talk about this in greater details if you want. But I use very cheap models, and I don't know, Hamo, like what kind of models do you use for this automated eval, LLM eval? Like what is the least you could get away with, or do you always have to use a strong model?
I haven't tried not using a strong model.
Okay.
So I just go as either using basically I've been using GPT-4, the latest GPT-4 every time.
Yeah.
I don't have in my specific situations I haven't had any limitations, so I just go there.
How long does it take? 30 minutes, one eval run, an hour?
It's more of like a human process, because I do, like I mentioned, like it's like I force people to label things and like iterate that way, and then it depends. Like it's not long enough for me to care. It's like in the order of like half an hour,
hours? Half an hour,
like
half an hour's
something good. Like it depends on the data, but it's like nothing that gives me any stress at all.
That's
whatsoever.
good. Yeah.
I need to jump. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Hey, take care, Brian.
Oh my god, you guys
Sorry,
here for a
Jason.
long time.
We're still here. You need to go for dinner. I mean,
No, I
that's-
don't need to
that's
go
the
for
thing.
dinner.
Yeah.
I just had like a work call with Charles. We're gonna talk about our blog posts.
Wow.
You doing some modal ones?
Yeah, this is the last one with Moto before I had to like end the work because my visa. I gotta come in the country as a mathematician. You know, mathematicians don't write. What are you talking about? Our blog post is on fine tuning embedding models and just showing that like even with 2,000 examples, you will dramatically outperform OpenAI or Cohere. And so the article is about like one, look, like if you have any data at all, you can fine tune. And the second thing is if you don't know which model to use, you can spend lots of money on modal labs and really quickly find the right model. So I was able to spend like $200 in 20 minutes and train 90 different embedding models off of Hugging Face and search across different dimensionalities. And then we found the one that was like 2% better. And I was like, great.
That's only $200. Wow, that's price.
Well, $200 is 100 hours of A100s spent in 20 minutes. Like it's a lot. It's 100 GPU hours.
That's cool. That's a cool blog post. Look forward to it.
Yeah.
It seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I told a VC a couple of weeks ago that kind of made me feel like a gangster was, if you're not fine tuning your own embeddings, you're Blockbuster. You're not Netflix. Al, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty interesting. Can you tell me more? What do you mean fine tuning embeddings? Like you talk about like taking some data and doing some contrastive loss on your own or something.
Yeah, so you have your own like contrastive loss data set. I think we used like the Cora duplicate questions data set, right? Very simple. And then we use basically sentence transformers. We freeze the initial weights and we just unfreeze the last linear layer. We just found that like we did searches where we did fine tune everything versus just only fine tune the last layer, and just in practice, it's just too difficult to convert to a model. Like if you fine tune everything, there's a lot. Like you have to be really careful with learning rate, and then your searches are like $2,000 because you're like searching like every possible learning rate. But if you just use like an affine linear adapter, it's like a beautiful. It's like the most beautiful learning curve ever. Right. So
I have some questions. Like
Cohere is here, personal data is here. At 2,000 examples, you're here at like, and then it's just this nice curve, like super nice properties.
That's cool. And then like you're measuring, like these embeddings are being evaluated on like information retrieval metrics or something.
Yeah, I think we're just using like precision recall. And then, yeah, exactly. Sentence transformers has like more like specific IR metrics that we don't use because we're just predicting duplicate questions.
Yeah.
But sentence transformers has all of that, and now they have that whole Marioshka embedding thing as well. So you could like fine tune your own like Marioshka embeddings with every IR benchmark. They just don't have early stopping.
Sentence transformers? Okay.
Yeah, sentence transformers doesn't have early stopping, so you have to like commit to the number of epochs you run.
Do you think that if you fine tune your own embeddings, you still want to do that re-ranker with Cohere? I like that trick that you wrote about. It's kind of cool. So
which one?
Like re-ranking with Cohere?
Oh yeah, dude, I love it. I feel like every company should just be using Cohere re-rankers. Like, there's very little. Like the only examples that don't work well are the ones that are clearly should be full text search.
Okay.
I mean, I think that is just you just determine that empirically. Right? Just like
fair enough.
I would just like use the fine-tune embeddings, use the Cohere ranker, see if the rank changes. I feel like I forget if there's a metric, but there is a metric for how things are re-ranked and how much they change. So you just run that experiment and see like how much you've like changed the rankings by.
Much worse.
Oh yeah, Evan says something cracked, which is it is much slower than asking GPT 3.5, which well, of course.
What does it mean to be
like a middle tier cross encoder, and GPT 3 is the ultimate cross encoder. You should just
what is the GPT 3.5 re-ranker? You're like just asking GPT 3.5?
It's just messages prompt. Yeah,
tell me. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, like of
What-
course. It's
What
gonna
does it mean to be worse? Is it performance worse? Like latency?
I think probably based on some like precision recall. Yeah, and then
Okay,
4
okay.
is much better. Like of course.
Yeah, of course.
But given haiku, I think it could be cost effective. Like
if haiku is able to, yeah, it depends on whether it's the floor or the ceiling.
And then like I would love to see if haiku is better than 3.5, because if it is, it's like 3 times cheaper. Like it's gonna be incredible. Like
yeah,
Especially if you can fine tune it. If you can fine tune that, well, it depends how much the fine tune costs, like the model. That'll be fun. That's gonna be really fun if you can fine tune haiku.
Yeah. He's looking at the data now. We'll link an instructor implementation. Beautiful.
Oh,
I'm getting some pretty good feedback on instructor recently. Like some random people who like famous people on Twitter have been DMing me about instructor. I'm pretty happy with that. We're at 120,000 downloads a month.
Nice.
Which is a lot now. It's like kind of freaking me out. Like
instructor is great. I mean, I told you, like, I've made good money just implementing instructor, and it feels wrong. It's like it feels so wrong. It's like
because it made it so easy. You're just like, I'm just like drawing your like schema diagram.
It's like I'm just copying and pasting this one code block in your docs and just editing like maybe 10 tokens in the whole code block.
Are you using the instructor hub, sir?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, no, haiku is incredible. Like I'm like 100% on Opus now in my personal work.
Oh yeah?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, my essays are all like Opus edited.
Yeah, I got the Anthropic subscription just for Opus as well.
Yeah, and then I'm really convinced that this like Opus producing a haiku prompt and then map reducing haiku data extraction is like the workflow. Like that and Raptor, I think, are going to be things that will age well.
Wait, map reducing. Okay, tell me a little bit more.
Okay, so say I have some like cute like data extraction task, right?
Yeah.
I would say like, Opus, write me like very clear instructions for data that looks like this. Give me some examples, right? So maybe I'm extracting like the specifications or doing some question answering. And then I have like 6 PDFs. Each one fits in a 200K context. I can just say, okay, apply this haiku prompt onto this PDF, extract the data back out, concatenate it, and then Opus answer the question. So instead of doing retrieval, which is like you send the data to the LLM, you send an LLM to the data.
You do compute on the data itself.
Yeah,
it almost gets to like LLMs as an OS, like operating system.
Yeah, but it's just like it's just so cheap. Like I actually
haiku is so cheap.
Yeah.
So like you would do haiku. Okay, you would do the map to do the extraction, and then the filtering step would be like
all part of the haiku prompt that like Opus will write for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And just send all the results back to
because
Opus
like,
to reduce.
Like text chunking. It's like no, just like here's 10 PDFs. The prompt is like, you are haiku. Your job is to extract the most relevant information out of this like context for this question. And then you just get like the answer out of each part, and then Opus just writes it.
Have you tried it?
Context on a model that fast and cheap is insane.
Have you tried how well it works on that? Because I know these models are very good at recall. I don't know if they are very good at recalling relevant items and reasoning over it. What I found personally is not very good. And because the excellent recall is actually hurting it a bit. Yeah. So what I mean is that it's very good at recalling, right? But sometimes it recalls the irrelevant things. So let's say imagine haiku recalls the irrelevant things, and now this irrelevant context is now in Opus, and now Opus has to recall it, and therefore it
because it's like I think it's like you want high recall on haiku at the cost of precision.
Yep.
And then you want Opus just be smart enough to ignore
do the reasoning, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that it's not able to do it that well. Recall, it's like optimized for recall, and it's such to the point whereby if something is in the prompt, I have to recall it. You get what I mean? And it doesn't know how to say, okay, that's
you can probably do some fine tuning here too.
Yeah,
make
or
it
just,
work.
like,
So that's the
you
thing.
are allowed
So
to say
that's
things, like,
why if you get to the point, like if you can hire ML to do the fine tuning for you, then you can tweak this to the way you want it, right? So I'm trying to tweak this to the way I want it as well.
Man, I need to hire me. It sounds like maybe something that could write a blog post once figured out all the little details.
I'm
Or
really
just,
excited for
or
Pycon.
just release his course, right? I don't know how long he's been sleeping on that fine tuning course.
Oh, I'm still.
I'm talking about you, man.
Yeah. No, I'm still working on it. Actually, it
Yeah.
gives me a lot of anxiety for some reason. But
Why?
I don't know. It's like a course. Like I've done
Just do
courses.
it. Just
but
do
it's like,
just do a beta with some folks.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm gonna
I'm
do,
happy
but-
to be a guinea pig. Jason can, I don't know, whoever wants to be a guinea pig.
Yeah.
I can tell it's super high. I believe it'll be super high value.
The reason I have anxiety because it's like my work is so unstructured. I'm trying to like create structure, like lots of structure out of like so much unstructured.
Do you want to
Shit.
split personal assistant?
Probably, yeah.
Like, I'm being so serious. Like, I'm so close to signing a contract.
Tell me, what is the personal assistant like? What are some tasks, just say out of example, that you might?
The ones that we could do. Okay, so obviously there's like, I'm going to Greece, research like the coolest things I can do in Greece. The more realistic, the day-to-day things I think are going to be around. Here's my to-do list. I'm going to like estimate how long each thing takes in my to-do list, and your job is to play Tetris on my calendar. Like, if you see that there are just like meetings with like 25-minute breaks, I need you to send an email to every single person and tell them that we should reschedule. And I need you to like really fucking clean up my schedule.
Okay, defragmentation. Okay, that's
And
a good
then
task.
when there's like more work to be done, I need you to like lock it in. Say like Thursday for 2 hours, Jason is going to write the memo for client X. And then like the email goes out and says, hey, this thing will be like ready like Monday morning.
What do you mean the email goes out? Like
If something gets like moved around, right? Like they will be responsible for calibrating the fact that like it's on the calendar, it will be done, and it will be done Thursday. And if something happens, like update people to be like, hey, ran into some delays, you won't get the memo Thursday. Just like stuff like that, I think could be really helpful. And that might just be like an hour and a half every morning to sort out the week. And I just need to like look at my calendar and I'll just be like, oh, write memo for 2 hours in upcoming. And I'm like, great. Like, I don't know like who put this there, but clearly this is the relevant time that I should be working on this. Right. Other stuff is like when I go to New York, I have like a spreadsheet of like all the VCs and founders I know in New York. Hey, just like
set them up.
Coffee chats. Like, I should not be walking more than 5 minutes between every single meeting. And like I need you to figure out like where everyone's office is and like just do that correctly. Because I went to SF and I tried to do it myself. I wasted like 3 hours organizing all these conversations. And then I spent $70 in Ubers in like 2 hours because I fucked up like scheduling. So like I was like, oh, I'll meet Chroma, and I like Uber to like Dogpatch. It's like, oh shoot, now I need to go to LangChain. I like Uber to LangChain. And it was just like, what a misorganization of time. And then like I couldn't eat because I didn't read, like just dumb stuff. But that would have
okay. Like, if you find somebody just like last time, you find someone good, I'll just hire them too. I'll just keep what like.
No, this is gonna be like through work. So we might have to just like be on a Slack or something. Like I don't have that many emails, but like I think it's super high status to never check your emails. Like I would love to delete emails off of my phone and just have everything go through like text. Right.
No, that's super a super baller. Like, hey, try to contact you, get a response from your PA. Be like, oh, Jason, you know.
Jason's too busy right now.
Yeah, like some founders like, hey Jason, love to get your help. But they great, I'll put my PA, we'll find some time.
And where I work, only directors, LA and above, have executive assistants.
I found that like I'm using cal.com and it's great. I love it. It's like so productive. But like I'm just getting like I feel like I'm in college again because there's so many like gaps between meetings.
Oh yeah, I hate those.
Yeah.
And it's like, so man, like I like 20 minutes lost here. I guess I can
1 hour gap is like the worst. It's
why
like,
why don't you just block out your calendar for work? I block out my calendar from 8 to
I do, and then there's like no availability. So I always like acquiesce. You know what I mean?
yeah, I have the same problem. Yeah.
because I can't just be like, oh, this guy wants to meet, but like
I need like different calendars for different tiers of situations.
I do.
Like,
but now
I
like,
don't know how to
I don't
know how to like orchestrate that.
So
Like,
I
just
have a like intro call that's 15 minutes. That's only allowed to happen in like mornings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have a direct one which is 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes. That's like 9 to 6 every single day. And then I have a 30-minute meeting that's only Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I can ask you a question about this. Like, okay, I have a lot of people reaching out like, hey, we want to get consulting help. We want to get some consulting help. And then we have like, you know, a 30-minute conversation, 45-minute conversation. I feel like I'm giving them a lot of advice on that call.
Yeah.
And then
they go.
like we're kind of done after that in a way. Like they're done for a while. I'm like, oh, because it's like that makes it painful because then it's like I just sink a whole bunch of time and I'm not doing it going about this correctly.
Oh, I'll just be like, oh, great. Like, thanks for the call. Let me write up a proposal for you, and then I'll send it over to you like end of week or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a next step. It's you don't like go like hang up. It's like next steps seems to be.
Yeah,
X,
I've been
Y,
doing
Z.
that for sure, but I just feel like it's like.
But I think that's something that I want to train the PA to do. It's like here's the transcript for the call. Write me like the minimum effort like proposal and send it over. Right. And then I want you to like go and create the Stripe links for each individual one and just make sure that like everything's attached and then send the email with the Notion doc and make sure it has like view tracking.
This person has to be pretty good. This PA person? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the company the headhunting company that like I'm talking with, I haven't signed anything, so like it's like $3,000 a month. It's like not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that could.
But like if I get this PA and it lets me have one more async contract, it's paid myself off, and then I can do things like, buy my girlfriend flowers and like figure out what restaurants to go check out. Like just like dumb, like what I was told was you figure out how to use the time.
I mean, beyond a certain level of income, time is more precious, time and energy.
Yeah.
And I guess Jason's at that level.
Like
I also wonder,
like, hey, like build me a philosophy curriculum, and then every month like harass me.
Wow.
To read the book, and then, like,
so your PA needs a PhD in philosophy as well?
No, just like
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Well, already Joseph is kind of like that, right? The writer. I'm like, okay, well, how do I get the most value? Like, give him things to do that makes sense. It's the same energy.
Yeah, I really, it's quite nice because if you do by hourly, you start being stingy, which is like hilarious because that's how like I've learned to sell. But it is true, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to make my clients' life better, but I don't want to be like, let's have a call. It'll just be $400. Like,
yeah.
I actually wonder also what Hamel is experiencing. It's like you give them the advice, but then it takes them 2 months or 3 months to actually execute on it. And that's why it's like they're just not ready for your advice, right? It's like, oh,
I have to qualify.
It's just like so much
better. Like,
the hire me doc really helps with that too.
Okay.
I make them read that doc first and be like, this is what we want. Happy to have the call.
Yeah, I can share with you, like, sometimes people reach out, they sign up for
I'm working on that
hours.
next. Yeah. Sorry.
Like the internal office hours, I give them some advice. It's like very simple. Like just clean up your pipelines, make sure you can check the data. Like, can we see some data? And it takes them 2 or 3 months to get back to me because there's just so much work, right? So that maybe the team that's talking to you is just not ready for what you need, like the fast iteration, looking at data, evals, that high touch point.
Yeah, that does happen. Because I recently went through a phase where I like emailed people who went, who have like waited a while, and some of them are like, "Yeah, we're ready."
Yeah, like the PA could help you do that, right? Just like go over my CRM.
I'm like, really? I emailed you. Now you're ready? Like, I'm like, oh my god, this is like a sales process. Like,
no, but like there are so many times where like I see an email and I don't respond, and they email me back like 3 days later, and I respond immediately because I'm just like, thank you for doing that. Like, I have a life, and I'm sorry I didn't respond to your email. Thank you for following up. Let's book a call.
Yeah,
but like I think those are the things that the PA could definitely like help. Like if your PA sends one email and it like revives the person who you wouldn't have emailed, and you make like 10 grand.
This EA has to be a really smart person, I think. like
Well,
sufficient.
you
like,
know, you have to build the processes though, right? Like
Yeah,
you
you have to train this
release
person.
record video of like this is how you use like Streak, which is what I use. I need you to like do this and do this and do this. Like it's a skill of learning how to delegate these tasks. But like there's other stuff where I just want to like send screenshots of recipes to the PA and like have my like Amazon fresh order set up. Like how amazing. 'Cause I spend
Basically, like okay, so you basically you want AGI, but
You want an
but
agent
right
to
now,
deal with all the
no, but you want
details.
an
like,
API. Yeah,
I'm being so serious, right? Like
Yeah.
if I want to actually think about what it means to make a personal assistant, like none of these people that are building personal AI has ever used a personal assistant. You know what I mean? Like how could you possibly like people are like, oh, like I want to have an AI like book a time. It's like, no, I need the AI to like reorganize my schedule and send out like reschedule requests with a new available times. Why? Because I want them to take my to-do list and prioritize important work that I've assigned with deadlines. Oh, I want my EA to then go like, Jason, you're working way too much this week. I've sent an email already. Your client's okay with it. We've moved this thing to the next week.
If you find something that does all of this shit that you said
a
and it does it
person.
well, then
It's a
like
person. Yeah.
everybody should buy that. But like I would, I would absolutely.
That's what an EA is. That's what a good EA is. Like
I understand
my
what you're saying.
friend's EA,
I'm
like
yeah.
not my friend, like one of my clients who's a friend now. I like judge their hackathon, and then they're just like, "Hey, Jason, like, would love to have your address." And then they sent like a
Send you
personalized
scotch.
book.
Nice.
They like looked, they like found my Instagram, looked through it, and was like, "Here's like a big ass art book that was like $60 on like Japanese ceramics."
Wow.
I was like, "Oh shit, like that's pretty sweet." Like I really like that gift. Like I know it's from the EA. But like,
Is it a
damn, it's
full-time
nice.
EA? Like, what do you?
Yeah, 40 hours a week. This is a 40 hours a week.
Oh, okay. Okay, then you know what? That seems like it could work. Yeah.
Right. And
If they're
I think
focusing everything on you, then that's a good. That can.
yeah, like I could just say like, hey, like maybe you know I want you to. I don't want you to, I want you to wait, take a Wednesday off, but I really want you to have like on Sunday. I want you to spend the whole day and just like make sure my calendar. Like there has been like 4 weeks in a row where I just haven't had time to have lunch because I'm like blocking it, and then people are like asking for meetings again. And I like unblock it, and then. Yeah, and like my Monday next week, it's 15-minute breaks between each meeting. Like I lost 2 hours.
Oh my god.
And it's because I had to schedule like 45-minute interviews to hire. And they're just like picking gaps.
Why do you have such weird?
I don't have any
chunks of
meeting.
time?
I only have
45.
one 30-minute meeting next week.
Job interviews.
And that's it. That's the only meeting I have.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of hiring.
Okay.
So I'm doing job interviews, and I have a presentation with like one customer. I have like 2 stand-ups I attend. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have a little bit of the
I need
luxury.
to find like an accountant and like a tax person, and like I would love for them to like figure out my flights to Europe, like small stuff like this.
Yeah, have the EA do that. That helps a lot.
Yeah, like I would just love someone to like send me 10 screenshots of Airbnbs and like that one.
Nice.
Because like literally, I was booking Airbnb like 2 weeks ago, and I was like doing it while my girlfriend was cooking. I'm just like, okay, I gotta find the thing. All right, I found 3. Let me go send this to the friend group. Okay, let me wait for that. Okay, but they like this one. Cool. Let me go on. Let me get to the bedroom. Like open Airbnb. I was like, you know what? Like I might want my time back. Like,
I'm grateful I have someone who helps me with that.
who?
I'm married to her. She has great taste.
Like, wouldn't it be nice if both of you didn't have to do that?
She enjoys. Sure, she enjoys this. I hope. But yeah, eventually when we get to a certain level of income,
But you don't think she would just enjoy being in the Airbnb? Like,
she
After
enjoys actually
this
looking
live
at.
stream, she's gonna be like, Eugene, we need to have a talk right now.
Yeah, I hope she doesn't watch this live stream. But she enjoys looking at interior decor, and she's like,
oh, that's
really-
fine. But like, I think the EA would just
She
like learn her
enjoys it.
taste and like send the thing. Like for
Yeah.
me, it's more like I want to like do the research of like what restaurants do I want to go to, what places do I want to go to. Okay, now is the Airbnb like optimal for that location,
I see.
or did I actually find like a pretty Airbnb that's 20-minute away walk from the thing? Like when I went to the Dominican Republic, my buddies like sorted out the location and they like found a driver.
Wow.
That trip was nice.
Wow.
Because they just sent me a memo. It's like, when you land, like, text this number. They know where to drop you off. You know, it's gonna be $45.
White glove service, man.
Yeah, no, like someone
Yeah.
sort of. That's because someone like did the work.
Yeah.
Like AI is not there, but like if you want to build an AI that is a good personal assistant, shouldn't you at least try it out? Like even from a business perspective, it feels like. Yeah, but maybe
that's
the
very
SO
true, Brian.
deserves to be an SO and not an EA, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm.
Well, I'm her EA for debugging SQL and Python. So. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just find like a dude from Upwork to do that. No, that's not true.
That's
Like
true as
it's
well.
so
That's
hard
true
to
as well.
hire people. It's like
It's
even
really hard to
that.
hire people from Upwork.
Yeah.
Upwork level, I'm like, I tried earlier this year to hire some people from like an agency and Upwork and all this stuff. And that level of work, I'm like, look, I can just use AI for this shit. I like made a decision.
Maybe they did that, and maybe that's how they did it.
No, that's worse.
It's worse.
Yeah.
It's worse. It's way worse.
I tried to get someone
Ouch.
to make one of these data viewing apps for me.
On Upwork?
On on like
Replit?
something like Upwork. And it was just like,
Okay.
okay. I was like, just forget it.
Yeah.
Use AI.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But I don't know, Hamma, what do you think? Like, do you agree with this idea that like if you want to build like personal AI, like none of these personal AI companies I've like friends with have ever had an assistant. I think it's so
Yeah, totally. That's like good principle. Like if you're gonna build something, if you're gonna automate something, do it manually first.
Yeah, like they're
There's
like, oh, we'll
no
do your
mystery.
Uber and we'll like research your bicycle. It's like that is not the EA that like makes me money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like I was like reorganizing my schedule feels so impactful. If
It
someone can
is.
find like 3 hours, contiguous 3 hours, that's like $1,000.
There's some software that tries to defrag your calendar, but it doesn't work because it needs a human touch. Because like you need to like message the people and say, hey, can you please blah blah, just like you're saying.
Yeah,
So
right.
Yeah.
Because like I could just click and drag a bunch of stuff around, and I just like hope that they accept.
there's something, I think it's called Clockwise.
Yes, I've seen it. It only works if they are also on Clockwise.
Yeah, you have to. You
Oh.
have to. So,
Right.
I see.
but if you had a company like Amazon, maybe, or when I was like GitHub, we use Clockwise a little
Yeah.
bit, and I was like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but those are under a lot of constraints where
Mm.
like both people are consenting to just like random reschedules.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like I would love to have a thing where like they can take my meetings and like turn them into like proposals and stuff like that. Like proposals take me like 2 hours to write.
That's pretty fast, actually.
That's
I
a,
have a lot of help because I take a transcript. I have like a proposal GPT.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just copy and paste yours and just edit it. It takes me like
Yeah.
15 minutes, but maybe because maybe I'm not doing
My
a
conversion
good
rate,
job. My
like,
conversion rate is very low.
Wow.
Yeah, I close almost everyone I want to close. I've never lost a client except Klarna.
Kara? CRTA?
Yeah. But I knew why I lost that one. It was you were not selling to the true buyer. But yeah, I don't know. It's like the sales stuff is super fun to learn because you do it well, then you make a bunch of money, and you're like, oh shoot, I actually just sold a lot of my time.
Maybe I'll do some kind of like reinforcement learning type stuff. I'll just like send you some of my leads, and then you just show me the proposal.
So you want me to like listen to a phone call? And
No, you actually win it. You do it, it's yours. Like I get nothing.
Okay, yeah, we could do
Yeah.
that. Let's do that. Probably like after May because I'm so overbooked. Like okay, Eugene. I was like, I wonder what it takes to make $100,000 a month. I already don't want to do that. It's so much work.
I definitely don't want to do it. I get tired. I feel pretty tired at like, yeah. When it gets to like, I like to have time to just like explore things.
I know what
At
you
least
mean.
I feel like I'm going to
20
college
hours
again.
a week or something. Yeah.
Because this month I closed like 70, and I was like, oh, I feel like a big man.
70 hours? 70K.
70,000.
7,000, okay.
And then I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna work till 7
It's
p.m.
not
every day.
sustainable. It's not not in the way that is going. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, if there's a day a week where I don't tweet, I'm working too much.
So the
Or
tweet
you're
is-
sick as a dog.
so you're saying like a tweet is like a health check.
Yeah, because I'm
A
just
ping,
like,
a ping,
It's like
right?
a,
Yeah,
it's like a Kubernetes like health
yeah,
check.
yeah.
Like it's like health check. Okay.
yeah,
tweet,
because like
okay.
for me, a tweet is, oh, I ran some code, I have a time to break. Like I'm like, I'm like,
I see.
I drove to get some food and I like make a tweet, like check my phone while I'm like eating some food. It's 7:30 p.m. All I had is kanji.
Today?
You should go get some food. It's a
Yeah.
weekend. Enjoy it.
No, dude, I'm working tomorrow.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
I got memos to write. Yeah, I'm just like I'm making a mistake. I need to like not try to make money. I just got too greedy.
It's kind of cool to see what you can just as experiment.
Oh yeah, I definitely have a path like 100,000 a month. It is just not a path I think I'm truly willing to go down unless I resort my pricing.
Mm.
Like, let me tell you, I have.
You checking the Git history on that one document is really fun.
I have 8 clients this month. That's a lot.
That's too much.
That's a lot of context switching.
Yeah.
Wait, have you seen my pricing doc like recently? Like, yeah, have you seen the Git history?
I have not seen it recently. I've only seen it when you tweeted about it.
Yeah, I think it's like pretty solid now. I'm like tremendously happy with this does not get sent. Yeah, like I'm happy now. Like all I need to add is case studies. But every time I add a case study, I'm gonna increase my rate by like 15%.
Yeah, I think case studies are super important.
That's the same
Testimonials.
thing, right?
That's what people say.
I just want to show that like everything you have problems with, I've already done. Like I'm not like problem solving for you. I'm like telling you how to solve the problem.
Nice. Well,
and then
what is comprehensive? You work full time, part time?
It's still part time, but I'm like actually like really trying to solve a problem for you.
Okay.
Right. Like you have a product launch, you need to build out these 2 features. Okay, let's do that.
Gotcha.
Like Weaviate is thinking about just like what is their like Gen AI in database Gen AI like plans, and I was like, hey, like let me just sell you these ideas that I think like I would really love to have. Like if I work for you full time, this is what I would probably work on as a successful special project. Because
I'm just living vicariously through you. So when I do this myself, I can just follow in your
dude,
footsteps.
it's tiring, man.
But
It's really
I won't
tiring.
exhaust myself. Yeah,
You need to have a CRM. That's what you need. I started the CRM. I love it.
I can't do sales. That's the problem. I have. So.
I use Streak, dude. Hamill, do you use anything? I use Streak. It's incredible.
I don't do anything. I don't even have a spreadsheet. I don't do anything.
Dude, I have like a friend.
It's on his mind.
What I do is I just look at my calendar. I like go back 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, who did I talk to?
Yeah.
Do I need to follow up? But
No.
I kind of like settled on. I have like 2 big clients, and that's it. Like that's all I'm doing right now.
I do like analytics. Like, one of the other things I want my EA to do is once everything is on a calendar, I want them to track how many hours I work for every client to give me like a true hourly rate, and I'll just like
I see.
Figure out what's like a great versus a bad client, and like just make sure that like things are being done correctly. Like stuff like that, I think is going to be like either no leverage or like great leverage, because I can already tell like which clients are costing me more than other clients.
And which clients you should fire? Maybe.
Yeah, but
it'd be interesting to see which clients have what kinds of situations lead to higher retention versus others.
I mean, usually like it's everyone wants to retain. right? It's just a matter of like, are you doing too much or too little? Can we like change the structure, et cetera, et cetera? Like, I have not, don't have the experience of raising prices yet. I'm like kind of nervous about it.
It seems to be going well the way that you've been raising prices.
I've been raising prices, but not for existing customers. Everyone's like grandfathered in.
I see.
Like, hey, you know, I want double for the same work. Like, you don't really say that, right? You gotta be like, hey, like, are you finding value in my contributions? Yeah. Maybe Hamel, maybe you have some tips there.
No, I haven't done that.
You just have high churn, huh?
I don't have churn. I just don't have that much. Like, I just have like 2 big clients at a time usually, and a couple. Yeah, no churn yet. Yeah,
I need to start doing that.
I'm kind of like, I changed my strategy. Like, I think I told you, I'm only going after like doing like larger projects, and that's it. So
what is large? Long term, high effort.
long term, like probably lots of time. Like focus time on like one specific problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the right way forward. I think
so you don't have to switch context so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think I've just seen every problem. Like the next company is not showing me data that is like so unique. Like, oh, like nah, it's like it's all tables or text. Specific industries usually have like nuances around how data is like parsed. Like, there's really only a handful of types of questions that people ask within a RAG application. Things that are possible. Trade-offs are usually like, do you want a server or do you want like object storage for a better database? It just depends on like whether you have like a very natural partition key. Like, I think after this, I'm just gonna write for like 2 weeks or 2 months.
Just write. Looking forward to reading that. Or you can just get a sneak preview of that by just joining this live stream.
Well, I think with Joe's help, we all talked to Joe at this point. With Joe's help, like, I think it would just be like, here's the 40-minute ramble, turn this into a blog post. It's shame it didn't work out for Eugene, but I feel like also Eugene's content is like a 50-minute read of like a research project.
Yeah, so I was sharing with him, hey Joseph, here's how I would write this. It's like, I do all this research, and it's like chunks of it, and then you got to weave in a narrative and a coherent narrative, right? And then try to organize it. Try to find a mental model. Usually I try to do a 2x2 or something. And he's like, okay, maybe it's not his wheelhouse. He's like saying, maybe you need a technical writer for this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could even do that job.
I think for sure you can.
Could Ivan?
Maybe, I don't know. That the thing is, sometimes a lot of things I'm trying to write about is like, I don't even know who to find feedback from, other than the people of the papers who I try to write about. So it's just, I only write about things that I cannot find on the internet. So it's kind of hard. That's why it's like, I really appreciate, like, just ding donging with Hamel on Twitter, right? It's like we're just talking about things that it's just so niche. No one actually sees it unless you're actually working on it. Yeah,
I'm fine. I'm gonna have to edit Joe's thing pretty heavily, but it's still helpful. Like, I was sharing when you were gone. It's still helpful to get the thoughts flowing in a way that like ChatGPT.
Again, you just want AGI.
Did it half your time? Did it half the time to get to a fully drafted blog post, or 33? Like, how much time did it save you? Could you have dumped it all into Claude and just get it out?
To be honest with you, like, I don't think I would have done it at all if he didn't begin it. I don't know how much time it's gonna save, but
so that was the push.
He gave me, helped me push me over the hump of, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, first of all,
you have to like spend the time now, right? I think that's like the benefit.
Yeah, like I spent the money doing it, whatever, and then like he started some, like, he has some hooks or some like solid pieces in there that I'm like, okay, like this is good.
Actually, yeah, what I'm looking for is actually a writing coach. It's like, here's my best writing. I would like go to them with almost a draft in prose, and I want them to tell me how to improve. I get that with my internal documents. With my external writing, I don't
So
get
like,
this.
yeah, my internal documents thing, like when I've worked at companies, the internal documents, I always like had a love-hate relationship with the the professional writers, because they were like, because I like to write things in a certain style, a certain
Yeah.
spice or whatever, and they're like, you can't say that, you can't say it like that, or you like don't do this and whatever. I'm like, you're wrong, or whatever, you know, just back and so I always struggled with this internal thing.
Yeah, so you also need to have the internal review, like giving you the right feedback. It's like, oh, it's like simple things. Like, for example, if I were coaching an intern, bottom line upfront,
Yeah.
less adjectives, more numbers, right?
Yeah.
So for my writing, I make different kinds of mistakes, but that only like, it's like, how do you write for a VP? I don't know what the VP is looking for. It's like things like that. That's the stuff I need coaching for. Or like, how do we write online better? How do I get my message across? I've been telling people to use lexical search for RAG, but it still gets ignored. I be telling people to look at the data. How do I craft a really compelling piece to tell people, please look at your data? It's like things like that.
Yeah. Oh, can I talk to you guys about lexical search?
Yeah.
What is like the main takeaways? I feel like I almost want to just recommend, like, there's a bunch of situations now where I'm running into where we have like very fast changing data. And I almost just want to say, like, don't use semantic search, like the overhead, the complexity overhead of like re-indexing everything all the time, like Jira tickets, for example, with like every single comment, every single body. And I was like, I just want to say, like, just don't use semantic search, just use lexical search, just use FTS.
For
It
what
depends.
situation? For what's the use case?
Like RAG over like Slack messages or
Jira tickets. Yeah, I think it depends. I know Honeycomb couldn't get it to work with lexical search for that reason. I've been chatting with Philip about this. I think most of the time, if it's a Jira ticket, if you're searching for project name or user or person, I think lexical search would do pretty well. And lexical search, adding a new document to the index, it's like super fast, right? Like open search just takes care of that already. Semantic search, I think there are some indices where you can add new documents without having to rebuild the entire index, or you can just rebuild the entire index, I don't know, every day or so. There are ways around it, but I definitely think that a lot of, I think that teams who are not using lexical search is leaving some juice on the table.
Okay.
That definitely should just try it. You'll be quite surprised. Every time I've asked people to just try lexical search, it's like, damn it, 80% of our recall comes from lexical search. It's like, why didn't we do this earlier?
Yeah, there's some interesting, there's like some spectrum, like of, okay, there's the lexical search, and then there's like query expansion,
yes,
just kind of like blending semantic with lexical.
Yeah.
And then there's like also like, if you go like Elasticsearch has some stuff where you can like blend the two, like blend the you can somehow weight things and blah blah do stuff. It's worth tinkering with. Like
it is worth, yeah.
You've been talking to Philip, by the way, Eugene? I don't know that.
No, it's like I think I just tweeted something like, yes, please use BM25 in your retrieval pipeline. Right? I think someone was tweeting something about that. And then he started replying me. I was like, okay, I know this guy's actually working on this. And then we started going really deep into, oh, he tried lexical and then tried this, and then lexical didn't work, semantic. And then I started poking around the edge cases, like how much of it was stemming, how much was synonym expansion, things like that. So that was fun for me. I learned a lot.
There's a really good book on this topic of like, let me find it. It's called, hold on a second. Yeah, it's called AI Powered Search. It's written by this guy. There's this guy Doug Trumbull in there, who is pretty good.
Was Reddit, right? I think he's Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit.
Search.
Yeah,
he used to be Shopify. And then
yeah, Shopify and Reddit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, powered search.
And then there's he actually before this book, actually, there is another one. Let me see.
Man, I've been using a new AI note taker.
Which one is it?
Circleback AI. I'm so happy with it. You guys should try it.
Okay, tell us about it.
It just does like notes and action items, right? The action items are checkable and they're shared. So there's like, if we had a meeting, there'd be like action items for Eugene and action items for Jason Liu, and we can like track the state between them. After the meeting, both of us get an email of the action items and the notes, and then you can set up Slack hooks or like web hooks that sends you messages for specific extractions. And so Charles and I just had a phone call, right? And I used that. And then I was assigned an action item, and I just got a message on Slack that's just like, remember to send Charles the data legend for the CSV file you sent him.
I
And I was
see.
like, that's so nice. That's all I really need. Like I don't want to go to like otter.com to do it. And then so I also have things where like for a customer, for a sales call, I want you to extract action items and rapport building opportunities and pain points.
Actually, one thing before I forget, Jason, Hamel, you guys up for 2 p.m. next Friday? You remember Hamel? Like Shreya said that we should go to the Bay Area and then it's like just do an office hours thing.
2 p.m. next Friday.
Yeah, she had a long tweet, and then I was like sharing for all the different. I think we could do a lot of powwow around that tweet, like what we've seen in the data a lot. Jason,
Yeah, I
you up
can
for
do
that?
that.
Wait, are you asking me as well?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, what's the one-on-one? What's the Jason Eugene one-on-one with Jason? No, I'm
Oh, yeah,
kidding.
I didn't book
Yeah, I mean, if we can book that, that would be. I think, yeah, because she's been looking at a lot of prompting and the defects that come out from LLMs. Not enough people talk about that. Everyone talks about
I
celebrates
sent an
the
email to
achievement.
sent an invite to all four of us.
Sweet, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm glad I had our email. We're
When
back.
y'all gonna come to the Bay Area next? Any plans?
Me?
I am.
Either you, yeah.
No,
either you.
Jason is gonna be hard. Don't bring it up in front of him, man. Sorry, Jason. I'm actually gonna go to the.
Okay. When will you be able to? But like, you can't travel all during the O1 application process.
Yeah, I can't enter the country.
Oh man.
Like after May.
After
You
May.
can only enter
May,
after
but I'm
May.
supposed to be in Europe in May.
Okay.
So like then June is like June. When is there's the AI engineering summit?
25th of June, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's when
I've not done nothing. I've done nothing for that.
you figure something out.
Pydantic is still all you need is the title of my talk. So
I might be moderating a track. 25th June. I think the week of 25th June. If you could attend, Hamel, that would be.
You should just give a talk and then get your stuff explained.
You should.
I would like to. How do I submit?
I'm flying Ivan.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
How do you submit a talk? I'll ping you the link. I need to find the link for the CFP. Yeah.
No, we should do something on like AI consulting.
Okay.
Just make it like completely just like shilling the business.
Have it completely what? The business?
Shill the business.
Shill the business?
Yeah.
Let me find it right now for both of you.
But no, my talk is gonna be on like Pydantic is still all you need. It's just gonna go over like the new stuff in Instructor.
And my talk is actually gonna be on the stuff I presented last year. Hey, it's still relevant.
Yeah, dude. This is how you know we're timeless, bro. Asians don't age, and neither does our content.
That's insane. Yeah, but I might be heading down in the end of May as well. There's a small conference that I might be attending in Los Gatos.
I'll try to come in May. I'll come in SF and then I can just like fly to Europe or something.
Maybe I should do a joint talk with Philip on fine tuning models.
That would be pretty tight.
And getting off of OpenAI into a model and all that stuff.
Oh, I don't know how the other sponsors might feel about. No, I'm kidding. Oh, but we would love that. It's like practical, right? Fine tuning, self-hosting, not sending clients' data out to somewhere else. I will make sure to send you that link.
Okay. So, okay, June 24th. Okay.
June 25th. Something.
Gotta look it up.
your boy is losing user share, man. I have a SQL query that runs every day that is instructor downloads divided by the sum of all other Pydantic and structured output libraries in Python. I went from 61 to 54%.
What happened? Are they actually competitors?
Did you increase the denominator or something too much?
Oh, the denominator is like, yeah, everybody. It's everybody. It's like,
I don't know, but did you keep increasing that denominator? Is that why you went down?
Of course.
Okay, so I don't know. Like
no, outlines is now a dependency on VLLM.
It's a dependency. Okay.
Which makes sense. Like now VLLM has structured output.
Yeah. Yeah, drop the link in the private chat. Save it because this thing disappears after. Yeah. So you all can submit something there.
Oh, have I even proposed this yet? Oh my goodness.
Just write something. I don't think they've looked at it yet.
CFP closes on April 1st.
Because I'm gonna have Ivan do the levels of RAG talk that I was gonna give.
Okay. That'd be great. Oh wow, they added a new track. I definitely didn't see the evals track last time because I didn't submit to the evals track. I think the track I submitted to was like AI in the Fortune 500, like sort of like more ops related stuff, ops and production related stuff, which I wanted to get Jason and Hamel to speak about. And that's why I think Hamel, your talk would be a good fit for that. But there's also a fine the AI in the Fortune 500. It's like, hey, how do you actually get this to work practically? The rest of it is a little bit.
I don't have a Fortune 500 client, so that
no, but it's not. It's like I think of it as more application. Like the rest of it is like multimodal, open source models, code gen, and GPUs and hardware is like more of concepts. But I'm more of a.
Why isn't fine tuning in this list? Okay, that's interesting.
I'm so that's why it's like, okay, just submit it. They're trying to figure out where to put you. I might be moderating one of these tracks, facilitating. I mean, yeah. So that'd be cool.
And
it would be cool to catch up in person.
Huh.
Yeah,
I'm really into this idea of bringing my clients with me and just doing joint presentations.
It'd be super fun. We have 12 people still online listening to us drone on. Like,
yeah,
what the heck?
We have 12 people. Okay.
Listen, like if you think about it, the average Twitch stream has 0 people. So I think we're like 12 people is like a room.
Why are they listening to us? Do they need help falling asleep or something? I don't know. It's like I have a friend that I always ask him to come on. Like sometimes he waves, and then it's like, hey, if you want to join us right now, it's like, no, I'm actually multitasking, but this is great for Friday unwind, just to catch up with on what people are doing. And it's the thing that people like about us, right, is that we're not like, oh, this new model dropped this day, or that new model dropped this day, or evals is like one of the norm core stuff. I don't know if you know what norm core is, like Vicky Boy case. It's like the mundane stuff that actually really matters a lot. Like this week was all about hiring, right?
Yeah.
Not really.
Did she present at the last conference, Vicky? She should present.
No, she should. I don't know. The last conference was the inaugural one, so it's a little bit small. 2 days. So I think this one will be bigger. So I think maybe she might submit.
Yeah, I would really love to hear from her.
Jason, I think you're on mute.
Good stuff.
Yeah, you were a rock star.
Me? No. I mean, Jason has a video that's 150,000 views on YouTube for his first talk. It's like the next talk, I'm expecting 300,000
That's
views.
because my jacket was super expensive. That's the only reason.
No pressure, ML. Like, not all of us are rock stars and charismatic speakers like Jason.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard, man.
I think mine only is like 2,000 views. The boring ops stuff.
I'm trying to find the StreamYard window. I have no idea where it went. So that's the problem. That's the problem I'm dealing with right now.
Wait, what happened?
I'm trying to find the StreamYard window on my computer.
On his browser, and it's like, which of these tabs is it? I will. You know what? I'm just gonna drop it in Twitter as well.
So funny. We need
So-
at some point we need like the Jason Eugene podcast
There we go.
Discord. I like that. I like that it's small. Eugene, I have a question. Do you want to like grow this thing? I feel like Swick's offered distribution, but I don't know if I feel good about like 200 people watching.
My honest opinion is I don't really care as long as we can still talk openly about the boring.
Yeah,
You
right.
talking about this
parts.
specific this thing?
Yeah.
I feel like if this got
I don't really care. I mean, like,
if
if it grows too big and like, so for example, just like we had someone in this very podcast that, oh shit, is this recorded? Oh, that I'm gonna send you guys the names later. It's like, see, that comes with that issue, right? And it's like sometimes we want to talk about stuff that we can't because it might be recorded, it might be live streamed.
yeah, or like,
And-
if we like earned 1,000 people, then it would be different. Like, oh,
I mean, and then sometimes it's like when it grows too big, you want to make sure you cater to that audience. But I see of us as like this office hours is not like a 101 office hours. It's like a 201 or even a 301 office hours. And that audience pool is smaller, right? So long story short, I don't care as long as
hey guys,
the alpha is still here.
$10,000 a month doing AI consulting.
You should do a YouTube video on that. It will
I
go
would not. It's like
gangbusters.
too-
It would do
write a book.
so. It would do so well. I can read that. That is the perfect hook. Here's how I made money, and how. Let me teach you how to do it. Actually, here's how I made money with ChatGPT. Bam! How many videos are there like
No,
that?
remember the hook is this: dream outcome, effort, success rate, time.
Mm.
Here's how I made $10,000 at home in 6 weeks. Right.
That's it. You should publish that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my answer. I don't know what do you think. You know.
Same thing.
And
just
and,
like-
and you know the thing is maybe we should just remove our names from it. Just say office hours. I don't know what the term is, like office hours. It's like you know, we have revolving office
Yeah.
hours
Just-
on
I'll
call.
AI office hours, something like
It's
that.
like random people just come in, right? And I
like
love
the,
that.
the AI open door, like this is like
Well, How did you come in, Hamel? Did you wave at us? And then I was like, hey Hamel, I'm
I
gonna
just
ping
made
you
a
that link.
comment like hi. in the
You
channel.
yeah, I made a comment and I was like, hey, you should just come on right now.
same with Brian
And
Charles.
same with Brian and Chip. Chip actually pinged me on Discord. And then I think last time we had Charles,
Yeah.
right? We were about to end and then he just said hi. And then we was like, and that's super fun. That's what happens at conferences. I've been trying to
Yeah.
recreate that virtually, like a conference cocktail table, which is what we're having now. We're at a cocktail table and people say hi, they join the conversation, they leave, and that's
Yeah.
magical in my opinion.
Yeah, then like that someone else is looking at us like those guys have no one to go home to.
Maybe, yeah.
Like Friday night. I guess it's for you guys. It's like much earlier. It's like 8 p.m. over here. I'm
It's
like,
like
my mind's
5
up.
here.
Yeah.
I like how your dog is super chill. Is like sleeping?
She's super chill. She's just like resting. She went out. My wife brought her out for a walk, and then now she's back. And then now my wife went out to get groceries again. So yeah. So but yeah, I actually enjoy this on my Fridays. I'm just gonna write my weekly update later and just send it out, and I'm done for
This
the
guy
day.
is so Amazon. Let me just write my weekly update.
Just save it in your drafts and like schedule it for like midnight.
You know,
just so
you
you
know
can get
what
that.
you know what I'll do actually. Shoot, can I actually share my screen? There's this really tiny thing that I did that is like freaking amazing. And of course, Jason has been teaching me about raycast and everything, right? I have this thing called Jot. Oh man, I haven't installed this. Okay.
Wait, okay, let me know when you should put the screen back up.
Put the screen back up. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. I'm just gonna go to an empty screen. And okay, Jot. Right? So this app is just called Jot. Chatted with Jason about, I don't know, hiring. Right? And so I have this, and all of this goes to a single markdown file. And
It's
then
like
at the
journal.
end, it's like a journal, right? At the end of the week, what I really would love to do is to send that all to an API and have it summarized, and that's my weekly update. Of course, I can't do that.
I can't do that.
Proprietary information, confidentiality, etc. So, but
so you need like Olama or something.
maybe a local model or anything, but that's just that single thing. It's like because I have so many meetings, right? Oh, we spoke about this critical thing that I need to let the people who read my update know, like some constraint or something. And this thing is like immediately I just jot it down. But that's the point of my weekly update, right? It's like essential information that I have that everyone must know. It's like, oh, someone is going to deprecate this service. Okay, everyone, you better figure it out. So, and the thing about jot is that it doesn't work with better dictation, which I love, which I shared with my skip and
Oh my god,
directors,
did
and
you use
they love it.
Jason 20? Because I got a cut when you
I
used
did.
it. Oh,
I did.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let me ask him right now.
I got, and it works for a triple license. I brought you a lot of sales, man. You gotta split that cut with me. No, I'm
Sounds
kidding.
good. I'll take you to dinner. Oh my god,
what
dude.
is the maximum length? What's the maximum audio transcript length? I mean, I've been trying to stress test this a lot. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever run into it. But
So
let me tell you,
dude, funny story. My skip, he wanted to write so let's just say performance review, right? And he turned it on. He was like chatting like 10 minutes. Then I stopped it, and then it's like it broke. It's like what oh, like all the stuff that he had thought so carefully had gone.
Oh no.
So I was like, okay, I think maybe there's a context length maximum audio length or something.
No, because Whisper does streaming 30 seconds.
Yeah, only maximum 30 seconds, right? But they do that thing whereby
Yeah.
they string it
Oh my
together.
god.
So
Let me tell you about something I've been considering doing.
are you
I'm
gonna
thinking
bring
about
an
getting
app?
a foot pedal for my computer.
What? What's that for? Left click, right click?
Command P and then Command P for speech to text, Command K for cursors, Command K. Because imagine I do like Shift.
You don't
V,
print documents that much.
Huh?
You don't print documents that much.
No.
I can always tell what people are not doing by their hotkeys.
All right. So Shift V. Okay. Shift V. You go into
I
visual
know, yeah.
mode. JJJ. You select some text. Command K. Command P. Add some more documentation.
I see, yeah.
So, I think it'd be so sick to have some foot pedals control like these new AI commands. So then, like,
I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I'm trying to figure out how to make myself like 10x more productive with some of these AI.
I mean, that's not gonna make you 10x more productive.
No, I mean like 10x enjoy my work a little bit better. Like not have to work so hard, kind of thing. Yeah.
Because for me, because of my thumbs, hotkeys kind of hurts my hands. And so if I can do if I can use what's it called, my foot pedal, I think I could actually have more longevity.
I think that's a good idea. Let me know how it works out.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Let me check. I feel like a foot pedal is like $200 though. Savant foot pedal.
Let
it's
me
like
check that
200.
for you.
I'll be back in a second. I need to use the bathroom. I don't know how y'all like last this long.
I've been thinking about that for a while. Be right back.
Oh. All right, hey guys. Leave any questions in the chat while these guys take a bio break. No questions? All right. Bye, guys. Yeah, man, this week has been mostly just struggling with hiring people. If anyone here watching wants to do a lot of OCR and PDF data extraction, hit me up on Twitter. I am struggling to find people. Yeah, I don't know. Hit me up with any questions in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer while these guys wait around. Or I'll do something really stupid. Oh yeah, I think with instructor work, so 0.6.6 uses instructor already. It doesn't support a couple of like list types, and it doesn't support streaming yet, but instructor already has works. Evan, do you want to jump on? Let me. I think the talent pool, it's not that the talent pool is weak, is that the talent that is high has so many options and places to go that it's really hard to get them. And so what is left is talent that is hard to acquire. Also, what is the difference between PCA and embedding fine tuning? They're basically unrelated. PCA is about sort of like fitting an ellipsoid to like figuring out like how your data is like a point cloud, whereas embedding fine tuning is more like, oh, you know what? Actually, okay, here's the relationship between PCA and embedding fine tuning.
That's like an
PCA
interview question.
takes your point cloud and maps it to the unit circle. Embedding fine tuning like transforms your point cloud such that like a different point cloud looks similar, if that makes any sense.
Isn't PCA like a linear projection, whereas embeddings are like way more?
Well, no, like a PCA is an affine transformation of like some point cloud to the unit sphere, right?
Okay.
So like you can imagine like this, like say I have a point cloud like this, I can bring it to the unit sphere using PCA. But consider another example where my query is a point cloud, and then what happens is that like, you know, really my text chunks are a point cloud, and I hope they're kind of similar. I think by fine tuning, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find an affine transformation that minimizes the distance of these points, and so you have these 2 point clouds, and then you kind of bring them closer together. So there's some like geometric interpretation, I think.
Wait, Jason, if you could give a 20-second recap, did you answer the question, why is the talent pool weak right now? Did you answer that? What was your
I
hypothesis?
basically just feel like the good talent has so many options that like what is left is just hard to hire for. Like every
Do you also
person I
think
would hire is like at Google or about to join a company for like 5% equity or about to start a company.
Yeah,
So
your
like
your bar is pretty high then.
So the middle companies, like they're just sort of like left with like the strays.
I mean, as far as I understand, I think Brian alluded to this earlier as well, right? It's a high-risk market right now. There's a lot of people seeking. So, but I guess those people probably don't meet your expectations.
Yeah. To answer your question, how to cultivate talent, I have an essay for this. The TLDR, I think, is to just get 2 weeks ahead of everybody else, and then teach everything back to them. If you can do that, you're gonna basically everything you learn, you're gonna like learn twice from the perspective of a student and a teacher. And then the people who are slightly behind you, when they ask questions that you have not thought of, you'll just be able to figure it out just a little bit faster. And just repeating that cycle and like developing that skill of like learn something, teach it, hear a question, figure out the answer to that question. Like that cycle gets super tight. Like if you talk to a professor, like your professor, like that loop is not going to be as tight because your professor is like so far ahead of you. And if you get super far ahead of someone else, then the questions they ask are just going to be kind of like dumb, you know? Like if I teach someone to program that's never programmed, they're asking questions like, how do you write a for loop, right? But if I get 3 weeks ahead of someone and they're thinking like, Jason, like I'm having like hallucinations. How do I cite better? It's like, oh, I'm just at the edge of understanding how to do that. If I can just use my advantage to sort that out a little bit more, I can get the answer before they do. And now I can like just be a little bit more ahead. I can go research and learn more about hallucinations. And the next person's going to come in and say, okay, but like, how do I measure what a hallucination is? And say, oh shoot, okay, I didn't figure that out. Let me go ahead a little bit more. Right now, it's like someone else like they know how to measure these things, and they go, how do I like fine tune something that hallucinates less? You should like figure out like where that gap is. Like if you're 6 years ahead, they're just like, how do I type?
Can I ask y'all a question in a bit of a tangent? What do y'all think about the idea of, or it's not really an idea, but do you think that buying small companies, like let's just say less than 25K annual revenue companies, or like less than 100K annual revenue companies, like small mom and pop SaaS businesses, and like trying to renovate them with AI is a good idea or not? Do you have any intuitions?
I think okay. So what does this really mean? What this really means is that you have some business. There's some customer acquisition cost. There's some like LTV,
Yeah.
right? And so really the question is like, what is your return on like ad spend? Is how I think of like SaaS, right? It's a money making machine for some distribution, and the question is, can you improve LTV or decrease customer acquisition cost?
Yeah.
Can you
But
do
like
that?
basically, as AI,
AI.
have we arrived at AI yet where like we can like people can start kind of these like really having a material impact on like really small businesses,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
at large, you think?
but like
I-
even
Like, and
double-
I'm asking you this like to like basically instead of consulting, should you go buy like small businesses and start like
yeah,
strategically?
should you like start flipping houses, right? Like,
Yeah, it's like same kind of.
yeah, I don't know because I don't know what the multiple return is going to be. Like,
Yeah.
like it maybe it's not good to buy a company that makes 100,000, but maybe it makes sense when it gets to like $400,000. Where if you can just improve LTV by like 50%, you can make like $200,000 off like a subsequent sale of the business. But like that market is not that liquid too, right? Like selling a house is already kind of a gamble. Like selling a business, you like what businesses are super exciting? Like I think
It's not about exciting. Take excitement completely out of
Money.
I meant like what businesses are exciting to like for other prospective buyers, right? Like that's just a business with good like return on ad spend. Like I just want a business that says like for every $1,000 I spend in ads, I make $2,000 in sales. And your only goal is like, okay, well, if I spend $1 million in ads, I make $1.1 million in sales. Okay, maybe that's not worth it. So it's like, how quickly can you like hit that efficiency frontier, and how much does AI contribute? I don't know. Like, if that was the case, I would rather just build like an AI ad business and just say, well, like, I'm gonna lower the cost of acquisition if marketing can like have the multiple doubles. But like SaaS businesses are so driven by their core metrics that it's just a question of like, does AI move those core metrics? And I don't know. Like,
Yeah, maybe I can try to simplify it. Maybe let's just not even talk about AI. Let's talk about recommendation systems. Can you buy small e-commerce sites and plant in a recommendation system that drives out the conversion? In terms of recommendation systems wise, I'm pretty confident you can do that. And then how I think about it is like profit and cost. Profit is infinite. Cost, you can only reduce it by 100%. So it's like, can AI be used to contribute to improve profit? Machine learning in general, recommendation systems, search, these are the things that really drive a lot of profit. AI, you probably can do that, but the cost will also be high.
yeah, I just don't think it's like an LLM.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know yet.
like think about it this way, right? Like, what if I said I have a chatbot who's fine-tuned to upsell people who go onto a gym's website and sell nutrition and book personal trainers? Like, I don't know how good. Like, how much additional sales would you get of like protein shakes? Probably not that many. The best you can do is saturate your current like personal training staff, in which case you start having to like hire more people. So those aren't good businesses either, right? But like,
Yeah,
better dictation, like if I was to buy better dictation to flip it, I would solely focus on advertising and marketing, because that's
I
like
see.
a
So
good
AI
business,
is not the value add there. Yeah,
right?
not truly a value add.
Like maybe it makes it cheaper to generate like personalized creative, right? But I don't know. Like, I don't know what kind of good is conducive to like the LLM AI. Because I bet I could improve sales by just like any kind of e-commerce website, just add like a recommendation system.
Just improve the
Even if the
homepage.
recommendation system is just like literally like using embeddings to optimize your like checkouts,
Yeah.
right?
Or just
Which case-
use your data science skills and improve the checkout flow. Where are people dropping from
Yeah,
the
but then
funnel?
it's like, do I believe that AI can improve average order value? Yes.
AI can improve average order value? AI is in Rexis or LLMs?
I would love to hear that story. Like, hey, I'm a data scientist, blah blah. I bought 10 businesses, I improved them all. That's when we have arrived.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so much of that is like marketing and all
Yeah,
that
I know.
shit.
Yeah.
And also like when
That's why-
if you go to e-commerce, really that the challenging part actually is about sourcing inventory.
And
like-
also the data. The data is just
Right. So
pretty-
like can you use AI to like find better inventory to then sell, or do you like it's in Amazon, like you have all of like you have every product, so it's fine. But like if you're like a bookstore, it's like, okay, like I can
I'm a bookstore.
buy the company to a bookstore, but now I have to convince the like merchandiser to
The publisher
figure out like what book
relationships.
should I buy, and like is that AI? But like that feels like AI is like a 5% improvement in their workflow. Like I'm not tripling their workflow.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well actually to buy the books, that's just capital intensive. I just need more money.
I think right now I just don't have a good mental model on what are the high leverage users of language models. Right now, it's just not clear to me yet. Rexis and search. Bam.
I think it's just
okay.
memos and calls.
I'm thinking really hard. I know the industry in terms of in my industry like Rexis and search, we're thinking really hard on how to find it. Not quite openly clear yet. People talk a lot about Perplexity for automatic Q&A and summarization. I have my doubts.
Oh, like a
I'm not
business.
very
Okay,
sure.
here's a business I would buy. I would go to India, buy out a business that like private equity firms use to like do data entry, and then replace that with AI.
That's
And
reducing
only
the
jobs
cost,
at lower cost.
improving efficiency. Yeah,
Right.
I think that's definitely that's already happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like if I could do that, if I could, but like not any data entry. Like I need the data entry folks of the guys, like the PE guys, because they're the
I
ones that
see.
are paying like $100,000
I
every
see.
every tax season to just like digitize like fucking print like mailed in forms, right? That's one of them. But I really think a lot of it is just like LLMs are really good at the interface between humans that are making important decisions, right? Like,
yeah.
If you do all transcripts, I couldn't give a shit. But if you just did transcript for sales calls, right?
That's why you also need to demonstrate that hey, you're niching down, you're very specialized, you give a lot of
Yeah.
care to that. So that's also like the marketing.
But but that's still not like a multiple. That's like a percentage improvement.
True.
And then you need to have like a bigger deal size, because I don't think it's worth buying like $100,000 business to make it $120,000 business. That's you like Hamill. You can make $100,000. Like you could make $20,000.
Totally.
And in a sense, I think we can get some data points on this. It's like, okay, Jason's coming in to help a company. How much value did he add? Okay, Eugene's doing this feature. How much value did he add? Hamel's helping with fine tuning. How much value did he add? We sort of have these data points, and we can extrapolate where does it have the highest leverage.
Yeah.
Right.
But none of that is AI, right? Like I think with a lot
none of it is really purely AI or LLMs. It's not LLMs
it's like
alone.
it's a churn problem. In which case, it's like change management. It's like crisis management. Like that's a consulting I do a lot of, right? It's like marketing.
Yeah.
Because you end up reducing the business to a set of metrics, and it's just hard to be convinced that AI is in any way like more than a multiple of that improvement.
Yeah, which is how can you directly attribute that improvement just solely to this LLM or AI?
Yeah, you have to do it like
it's
a
really
math,
difficult.
like Klarna scale, right? Like Klarna.
Exactly. They shared about it, very open and obvious metrics. And we'll see. We'll see. We'll let time tell, right?
But they
after
did it
12
for
months
their
from
IPO.
now. Yeah, after 12 months from now, have they deprecated their service? Have they expanded their service? And so
they have other bots in the works. I can't talk about it much, but there's like I think the goal is going to be like drive LTV at some point.
that'd be cool.
So it's like drive LTV is one thing, and then lower churn is the second thing. The lower churn is what they published. I'm not building my own product.
What are you talking about?
I
Instructor?
feel like I'm pretty good. I feel like the product that is my brain can like drive pretty good returns. I don't really need to make money when like if I can just make enough, if I save enough money, the money makes money while I sleep. Like I don't need to make money while I sleep.
Are you gonna do something? Are you gonna like invest the money you're making into like non-tech AI stuff, like buy real estate, buy something? Are you thinking
I
about
don't
any of
know
this?
how to. I'm like not good at it. That's why I'm dating Nicole. She just like make me a landlord, and I was like, oh my god, yes. Tell me which house in Lisbon to buy. Most of my money just goes into Nvidia. I thought about putting like 100,000.
All of it in Nvidia?
Like
Like
stocks,
not even
options?
not even
Yeah,
diversified ETF?
I buy SOXS and Nvidia.
Wow.
I'm
Big
like
balls.
super long semiconductors. Like there's just no world where there's less computers. So that's basically my thesis.
I've been buying some stocks as well, but a lot of it is also
Yeah, I think
S&P
I also
500.
think I might just set aside like 100,000 and do like $10,000 like angel investment checks just to like
Let me know
just keep
whenever
it
you want
fun.
to do that. Yeah.
Oh, I emailed my buddy who does like a dentures with a trackpad and a computer in it.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like both like a health device but also like an accessibility device.
I highly recommend you check out that what I recommended, Hustle Fund, because they really talk about I knew nothing about angel investing. I still know almost nothing, but everything I know I learned from them, and it's like rigor. It's almost like a data science, right? But it's
Mhm.
with very little data points, qualitative data points. So it's like they teach you how to have rigor, how to track what you invested in, and then get feedback over the long term. Hey, where were your judgments wrong? I found that very, very helpful.
Hamel, you angel invest, right?
Yeah. It's not really that strong. I just invest in my friends and people that
You just donate money to your friends.
like friends like it doesn't have to be like my best friend or anything, but it's like, you know, people that I know. And that's pretty much it. Like like sometimes the VC will like ask me, hey, do you know anything about this company that such and such is creating? I'm like, oh, no, but they're really good.
Wow.
But you know, I'm like, they're really good, and then I just reach out to them like, hey, I heard you like whatever, and then
oh, funny.
You know, something like that, like something in that sense. Like
yeah.
This is about like people. I'm like, oh, that person's really good. Like
yeah.
So basically, Hamel bets on people, right?
Yeah.
A big chunk of your equation is people, founder.
Yeah, it's people that I know in some way.
Yeah, I just want to bet on like insane, like
ideas.
Things. Like the fucking mouth guard guys are like, this is so sick. I just want to like get your investor updates. Yeah, something like here we have like a electrical tooth that you install in your mouth, and then
that'd be cool.
It's like cool tech. It's like cool tech or like crazy people.
That you want to see succeed, right? And you just want to stay in touch with them.
Yeah, I just invest things I want early access to. I think that's currently my feelings around investments.
Sometimes it's like, hey, do you want to get a job here or whatever? And I'm like, no, but I can't invest. And then sometimes that happens.
Yeah. I don't know. A part of me is like, I have friends who do like 5K checks, and I'm like, that's so little. Like, I don't know what you do with it. But then, like, I don't have the money to write like a 25K check either.
The thing about 5K checks is that it's not about the payoff, right? It's like more shots on goal. Again, depends on the pool that you're.
Yeah, but if I was a company, like if I was building a company, I'm just like,
you know what they get? You know what they get from that? They gotta put Jason's face on the list of investors.
Yeah, but I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? Like
soon it'll be huge, and then every now and then when they need help with hiring, hey Jason, we need to hire. Can you give us some tenets on how what to look for? That advice is worth more than money. Actually, money is pretty cheap.
Did you not see that TinyBox literally said that they're gonna go with NVIDIA?
They stopped AMD.
They posted a picture of NVIDIA SMI.
Yeah,
and I saw someone post like the George Holtz effect, where AMD just dropped a big chunk. I have both, so it's just buy socks.
I have my takes. Do you guys want to comment on this at all? All right, I'll go first then. Benjamin Walter in the book The Meaning of Art and the World of Mass Reproduction talks about the fact that like good art has aura, and aura is like imbued in the artist in the art by the artist. And so it's like I think AI could help things like drafting and just like creating the first versions of things. But music as art is not the same thing as like music just because there's a beat doesn't make it like artistic music. And I would believe that like AI could make art if AI was like conscious in a way that can actually have experiences and be related to. But like in my mind, if I just because I draw an apple that I see with a pencil doesn't make me an artist, and that doesn't make the thing I draw art. That's like draftsmanship, right? Like I am playing. Like I think when you are really good at something, like the medium like kind of like goes away. It's like I play the trumpet, but I don't even think I play music.
So I guess your answer is that it's no. It's probably not.
Yeah, like I think
disruptor.
Again, like the drafting, like it can like create some like sheet music. It can like sequence some notes, but like the soul and the aura of art, I think, is pretty far away. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna come at this from a different direction. I think that AI is not gonna put artists out of a job. I think that but what AI is gonna do is gonna lower the barrier to entry. I mean, like, okay, everyone's still gonna listen to Taylor Swift or whoever. But what AI is gonna let me do is that I want to compose a happy birthday music for my wife. There's no way I'm gonna get Taylor Swift to sing it or like write a song for it, and it's gonna allow me to do that, like what Midjourney is about to allows me to do. So I think a lot of people are gonna try this and say, hey, I don't actually need music or artists anymore. I actually don't know if that's true. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, it's like just because I can sing you happy birthday doesn't I'm not like a singer. I'm not like offended by the fact that I'm not a singer. But
yeah,
like
then
I'm singing and that's fine.
And then there are other sides of it, like the entertainment industry, right? Actually, now that I'm gonna go a little bit away from the entertainment industry. I'm gonna not you asked about specifically music, right? Basic math AI. I like recently I've been playing a lot with audio, like speech to text. It's really pretty amazing, the inflection and the tone.
I mean,
And then no, speech to text. Oh no, text to speech. Sorry, text to speech. And it's like I happen to know someone.
It's like
It's
creepy.
yeah, the tone is really good, and it almost comes down to okay, maybe a medium, like not one of the top tier studios, but they could animate, and they don't really need to hire voice actors anymore. Now maybe that could happen.
Yeah, maybe for like a documentary.
The TTS that was demoed on that robot, what is it called again? The one, you know what I'm talking about? Like just last week.
The NVIDIA,
like picking up the Apple and
yeah.
God, let me find it. Oh, Figure.
Oh, they work with OpenAI, right?
Yeah, they work with OpenAI, but that the voice of the robot I was like, wow, okay.
What was wow about it? Really human, really inflection, communicates tone.
Yeah, everything. It just sounded like a human.
Yeah.
It was like hesitating in the right places and
yeah,
things like this.
Yeah, that's a prompt. I can get that to work with a prompt, but you can see like just very simple things, right? Can almost replace voice actors. But so that's specifically for voice actors, not music though. Music is a little bit more art. Voice actors.
But I was in the car with my children the other day, and we were listening to Harry Potter ebook, and the way that the person is narrating the book, I was like, there's no way AI can do it like this. Maybe
Try it.
not right now. Like
maybe not right now. Maybe
some
not right now.
fine-tuning or something to get it in that for this specific thing I was listening to. It was like so much energy, so much passion.
Do you think
voice.
AI is 50% there?
I think it's close. It's pretty close.
And so imagine that someone writes a book and there's no audio narration. Would you pay $10 to get an audio narration? I know 11 Lab, like one of those text to speech companies. That's what AI can do.
Yeah.
And a snap of the finger, right? And it's like just transport whoever's listening to a whole new world. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
children
it
or
probably is
whoever.
definitely like seems like one of the lower hanging fruits.
Yeah.
To make it like, yeah, I don't know if the cost is justified to have like that level of like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because I was like a full-time person just.
That's definitely really expensive, right? A full-time
Yeah.
audio narrator. Yeah. Whereas AI can probably reduce the cost by quite a bit. I mean, it's not just about cost, it's also like just making it more available, right? I mean, like, yes, we want to have amazing narrations for many books, but not all books are justified that. But let's say I'm a big fan of this author, I want this narration. It can be available. It's something, it goes from 0 to 1. Just to make it available. I think that's amazing what it can do. Yeah. Wow, so it's been almost 3.5 hours. I don't know why these people are still here.
How many people?
But I think 10 or 11 now. I figure maybe we just let Jason off the hook.
I'm like to instructor right now.
So he can eat something other than congee.
Oh,
If not, he's just gonna keep
I'm
losing
sick.
weight.
This is all I got. All right.
Is your throat still hurting?
Yeah, let's end the stream and then maybe we can chat offline. All right, take care, guys.
All right, take care. Thanks for staying for so long.
Oh,
That was a long.